Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
That's different than using your hand.
It's the hand. That's the strike.
No, I know.
That's what it is.
But
Yeah,
there's a
but Scott
system.
Peters has a system. I mean, we don't have to go into the minutia of it all.
It's a system,
But-
Paul.
It's a system of being a hardo and doing push-ups on the field.
Oh,
No,
come
no.
on.
But you know who he reminds me of?
He knows what he's talking
You know
about.
who he reminds me of?
You gonna say Ted Williams?
Yeah.
Do I speak Fred or
Yeah.
do I speak Fred?
Yeah.
What was Ted Williams like, Fred? You probably saw him play.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember when he was a kid. When I was young, it was Yaz bread. They had like this really
Yeah.
bad white bread
Yeah.
that they would sell. Rico Petrocelli and Tony Canigliaro.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's great.
Evan's mocking you right now. You know that, right?
I don't care.
He's
No.
mocking you.
So,
I know I'm old. And he also says, is Paul losing weight? He's looking good.
here you go, Paul.
No.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and we're back in our studio. We've got to get a sponsor for this studio.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
The something
Especially
something
studio
especially
like this
this
deserves a
studio.
name.
Yeah.
Deserves a name.
Absolutely. I like that little like it was just like faded in. It was like Fred Kirsch.
Yeah.
Like it was a comforting. Like
Yeah.
there's Fred. There's the leader of Patriots Nation. Patriots Unfiltered.
Come in,
Yeah.
join us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sit
So that
down.
wasn't that like kind
Pull
of
up
cool?
a chair. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so it's Deuce, it's Paul, it's me, it's Matt in the booth. Will anybody else be by later?
I believe we might
Someone
have a
will be,
guest in the second hour.
Okay,
But
guest
we've
in the
got
second
offensive coaches with Alex Van Pelt going, so Evan and Tamara and Alex will be out there.
You know what we should
covering
have
the
them
practice.
do is
Yeah.
like when they have, because this is going to be an issue, because now practices are a little later than they have been. So in the past, Evan would be here, but then he would go and then come back from. We're not going to be able to do that anymore, right?
It's well, I mean, I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to get, Fred, but I mean, according to what the schedule might be, I mean, there's a chance that we might be in locker room sometimes at the start of when Patriots Unfiltered is
Not
scheduled
me,
to
Fred.
run.
I won't leave.
But
you.
I was thinking that that's okay, but let's have Evan call in from the practice field,
Yeah.
and we'll get a live report from the field onto the show.
Sure, don't even need to look at them. Don't
You
even
know?
need to have them come in. Just
Yeah.
call us and then do your own thing.
Yeah,
That works.
That
so we'll
sounds
do
great.
that.
Well, it'll be fun. I mean, and I'm going to maybe.
But we'll need a theme song for that.
I was just going to
Evan
throw.
is calling in
No,
from
no,
practice.
Fred, Evan's got a song. We don't need to do that. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there, Jill. That it might be Deuce, Seven, and Tamara and Alex coming back from the locker room. What happened in the locker room? That kind of song.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe put that in the pipeline. I'm just saying. 'cause
Okay.
That's pretty.
We might
catchy.
come in. We might be coming in hot from the locker room.
All right.
With all kinds of information. So it might kind of work. It might be you
Yeah.
two guys, starting things off. Maybe
I
don't
won't
know.
leave you, Fred.
No.
Paul's always been by my side.
Always. Well,
All right.
It's true.
Also-
it's
but-
just a little sad too.
While we're talking about people, congratulations to Andy Hart, PFW alum, who now has the afternoon drive time show in WEEI. That's a huge
And while
thing.
I'm excited about my future at Dighton Rehoboth,
Right. So, yeah, will he resign after one day?
Well, it was pretty cool because we were all sitting with Andy on the bleachers yesterday when the news kind of got announced, and got to embarrass him a little bit and give him a
Yeah.
round of applause. Probably nice for you, Fred, to see another one of your
I-
your guys.
I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. He goes, I go, Andy, you paid your dues. Yeah, I paid my dues working for you. He can't even take a compliment.
I didn't.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's such a blockhead.
But anyway, so
yes,
he's going to
and
be.
yes, everybody, you can get it out now. It's
And
another
by
one
the
that's
way,
left me behind.
He'll be co-hosting that with Christian Arcan, who
This
did a
is
little
part-time.
pregame for us.
Yeah, part-time
So
pregame.
everything that we touch
Yeah.
turns to gold.
Except for me.
That's the Andy cackle. Well, it's competing with your show though, Paul. I mean, your
My
show with the
shows,
Felger
yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Maz.
I think we're going to have some fun with Andy
Yeah.
at afternoon. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
call in.
Oh,
Yeah.
Roger from
Roger.
Foxborough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but in all seriousness, I am really happy for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's excited about it, and I'm really happy for him.
Yep.
And he did pay his dues.
He paid his due. He did those weekends and those holidays.
Like, you've been
and-
here 5 years now,
Yep.
right, Mike?
Yeah.
So he's
Yep.
been gone 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem that long.
No.
No,
It's
because he was so
Yeah,
flawlessly
that pain in my
replaced.
neck still hurts, so it doesn't seem that long.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that. We want to talk about Jerod Mayo. We've got the game coming up Sunday night. Yesterday in practice, Joe Milton took a lot of reps, and I turned to you, Paul. I goes, "Is this in preparation for Sunday night's game?" And you
so.
think it is?
Yeah, I think that Zappi and Milton took more reps yesterday than they have probably in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which tells me that probably going to see significant time, maybe the whole second half.
Yeah.
With those guys, I wonder if maybe it's Brissett for a quick, series, and maybe a series or two for May, and then
that's it.
the rest
Yeah.
for these
Yeah,
guys. I'd like to see a little more of May, but beggars can't be choosers.
Yesterday, I didn't stay for the whole practice, but from what I read, Maye for the first time was
don't
under
do it.
center
Don't do
with
it.
David Andrews.
I'm gonna let Mike
but they
handle
were
this.
all running plays, right? Yeah.
I'm going to use my quote that I used on this morning, which I thought of last night while I was at Pink having some cocktails, was like, anytime Drake May's hands get near David Andrews' butt, everybody's like, it's happening, it's happening. I mean, we've been talking about it for 2 weeks. Like, every time he takes a snap from David Andrews, perhaps they're setting the stage for Drake. Like, until he gets in there, one's offense versus one defense, live situationally, there's nothing there. Like, they're scrambling on the offensive line. They have to take, numerous guys at center that have been getting even opportunities. So, he takes a couple snaps with David Andrews. Great. Like, it didn't really mean anything. It was not really a competitive practice at all.
But it is something that hasn't happened.
I mean, though, he's taken some snaps from time. I mean, we've
Has
seen him
he?
just occasionally, but it's not.
Mike
I don't
was
know.
He was He was like hot under the collar.
Yeah.
Well,
Freddie.
it was, and I think part of it is that this whole training camp, we've watched all the practices. I know everything that I think about Drake Maye, and meanwhile on the outside, there's just this like roller coaster of a narrative about, oh God, he's terrible, oh God, he's amazing, and it's just been kind of even keeled. And like Paul and I were talking before the show, like certainly got beat up against the Eagles in the joint practice, but then in the game showed a little bit like he had in his good practices, where a couple throws downfield that, all right, there's that, little athleticism thing, little movement in the pocket, nothing like overwhelming and he just strung together 30 amazing plays, but it's just, I see just kind of a consistent, certainly ups and downs within the period of that we've watched, but generally we've kind of seen the same thing from Drake Maye overall, and it's good that he's developing, but like I can't ride this roller coaster of, oh my God, he's terrible, we made the wrong decision, to he needs to start next week or else. Like that, it's just crazy to me.
I was going over it, and the reasons to start him right away, to have him wait, and for how long, and I was thinking, first of all, I still think he should start week 1, assuming he's ready, but I still think he should start week 1. But even if he doesn't start week 1, the sooner you get him in, the better. And I came up with a golf analogy. Are you listening, Hardy? And the analogy is, Drake Maye is a good golfer, but he's got no money. So the first year he's golfing, he's playing with rented clubs or really crappy clubs, balls he may have borrowed from the range on these really bad golf courses. But he's a good player,
Yeah.
Second year, the Patriots get a high draft pick, we load up, we get a lot of players, blah, 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 a lot of tools. So that second year, that same golfer, now he's got fitted clubs and real good balls, and he's playing on pristine things. And as good as he was the year before, now he understands the difference.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to take advantage. So the bottom line is, the more experience he gets playing with bad things around him, and I mean that, in a respectful way.
I know what you mean.
But without the best conditions, the better he's going to be next year for that, if they do get better tools around him.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
You can't listen. You don't want to get him killed. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
Yeah.
But you also you can't operate as if, well, I can't put him in because he's going to get killed.
No.
You can't play like that.
No. And by the way, Jacoby Brissett's lives matter too. Right. So, why are we putting anybody back there if they're going to get killed?
Yeah.
They don't think that's going to happen. And, there was a little development. Vidarian Lowe had an upper body something.
I think that could be significant.
And Wallace comes in.
Yep.
I think the plan is to have Wallace in there eventually. And I think this might have hastened that.
But in where?
Right guard.
Right tackle. Yeah.
Right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, right tackle.
Oh, I think you could play right tackle. He has to play left.
No,
if
I know.
Lowe was out. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that's.
Well, He's going to be on the line at some point as a starter.
I agree with you.
That's the great unknown for me is you don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be great. You just don't know that he's going to be terrible or great yet.
I don't
And
need
some of
great.
these guys
I
you
just
kind of
need
know.
competent.
You just need competent. But
Yeah.
I like your analogy though, Fred, and I kind of along the lines of what I've been thinking. Coming out of this year, and I'll use your analogy. I want him to go through a round at Augusta and know what it's like, So, and I'd say that as like the Jets or Buffalo, or to get some experience against these teams that he is going to have to beat to get to the playoffs. What's it like to play in Buffalo?
I like that
What's it
too.
like to play down in Miami? I don't know. He might get his doors blown off, but I think there's value in that, and especially you got a young team. Look, guys, we're going to come in here. These guys kick our butts.
Yeah.
Let's remember this, and you start to form that baseline of, all right, we've been here. These guys kicked our butts last time. We're back now. We're a better team in 2025. You start to build that narrative. I think those are the most important things. I don't care if he starts the first few weeks. He has to get in there, by like November. To me, or else that's bad. And I think I've been consistent with that since they drafted him. I don't need him to start week 1. He's got to play this year, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to the coaching to make sure he doesn't develop bad habits, right?
Yep.
But beyond that, okay, so this year I'm throwing to guys who weren't quite good on their routes. They were learning with me.
Dropping my deep balls when I place them in their hands.
Yeah, I didn't have quite the time I should have had on every play. But to have that experience, and then next year, assuming that all those things improve, he's going to be so much better for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but, we all played other sports that required equipment. Whether it's golf or tennis, you start off with playing with crappy stuff, and then you appreciate when you get the good stuff, even that much more. But if you start with the good stuff, then sometimes you don't understand the difference.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about we can't put him out there behind that offensive line. And to that point, I think there's value to that. Like what you're talking about. If maybe they're not the greatest offensive line pass protection wise.
Right.
Maybe, but that will force him to make his reads quicker and understand what he needs to do to operate. And then, I don't know if you get a left tackle in the first round next year, and Caden Wallace in year 2 is now comfortable as the right tackle. Here we go. Now we got a pretty good offensive line. How much easier will that make it for him if he's sort of learned to adapt with no time? Now you have time.
Right. He's been hitting the balls off crappy lies all year. Now he gets pristine
Can't get off
fairways.
Well,
Stuff.
I mean, you talk about Josh Allen, all of a sudden in digs he gets, the custom driver, and it's like,
and
whoa.
look, and how quickly did that come together?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. And I mean, I said it kind of under my breath, but it's a pain in the butt that people keep dropping these deep balls from him. And that's the element of this offense that they need. And, we probably talk about Tyquan Thornton probably going to be out there and get a chance. Is he going to catch these balls? Because that's really what's just bugging me, is that we finally have a quarterback who it's no problem to get the ball down there. They got to catch the ball. Javon Baker. I mean, Douglas, yesterday, which, again, not super competitive period, but still it's just I said in the stands, at what point is he going to stop throwing it up for Javon Baker? Because he's had no problem doing that all summer, and he's on a cold streak right now, Baker. I mean, I think he had one catch yesterday. He had another bad drop that I remember. I look at his body language, and it seems like he realizes he's fighting it a little bit. So you need those guys to catch that ball for him. That to me will help spark
Is
it.
Thornton still doing okay?
I mean, he's
think
okay.
I think he looks good. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think he's had a
Because
fine
he's the
camp.
guy that,
Yeah.
could be underneath some of those passes.
Right, and that's what I want to see. And when we talk about Drake playing with the ones, and I mentioned a throw to Douglas that they didn't connect on. You haven't seen a ton of Drake with Douglas and Thornton, I feel like, and Thornton's been okay. I mean, I wouldn't say he's had a great camp. I think he's just been fairly consistent. He's been out there, and he's got an element that nobody really else has on the roster with the speed on the
Now,
outside. But
this kid that they just picked up, I know he's a guy off the street, but he's 4'3".
he's a fast. He tested really well at the combine. I mean, he's a height speed guy. I mean, he's kicked around a lot, but you see what they're kind of looking for. I mean, they understand we don't know if Jalen Reagor and Tyquan Thornton are going to be able to get it done on the outside this year. I mean, I think those guys will probably have equal opportunity for as much as Thornton's getting all the buzz right now. I think right now it's kind of you're in this time. That doesn't seem like it's his job and he's been lighting it up and he's the number one. They're going to give him a chance. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy and string together some consistency.
I was reading something today because after this game on Sunday, that Tuesday will be the deadline for cutdowns.
Yep.
And, you know, sometimes teams don't always wait until the deadline. So you're going to see a lot of player movement coming up, you know, because most teams will have their game before Sunday.
I think there was just a trade actually between the Eagles and the Commanders.
Yeah,
Jahan
within the
Dotson.
division. Yeah. So you're going to see a lot of things. But there was a new procedural change this year regarding the injury list, you know, designated to return. Now you don't have to wait for the guy to be on the 53-man roster to do that. Right. And you have 2 of them.
But you can put them when you get down to your 53 on Tuesday. You can do it then.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait till Wednesday.
Okay.
That's the change.
Okay.
So, like in other words, Jake Andrews got placed on injury reserve earlier in camp. He's out for the year. He can't return. Like you couldn't designate him to return.
Right.
But on Tuesday, when you get down to your 53, you can take 3 guys, whatever, and say, well, they're not ready to go. They're going to open the season on injury reserve.
So now you're down to 50, and you can add
and
people.
you can have 3 other people on the roster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And was there any? I probably need to drill down on this rule a little bit, but you have the PUP guys who have started on PUP and have remained on PUP, and therefore are eligible to stay on PUP for I think 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
And IR is a minimum of 2?
4.
4. All right. So there's no real. Is there really a difference then? I mean, is there any kind of jockeying they have to think about? Like, hey, let's put this guy on IR and
no. The difference is like Hunter Henry would be a candidate to start on IR if, and this is
because he didn't start
right because he can't go on PUP. That would be the difference.
Yeah.
My guess, and I think they're both 4 weeks now. I think IR designated to return was 3. Maybe I'm confusing that. That might still be 3, but I thought they moved it to 4.
I thought one of them was 6.
It used to be
PUP
PUP,
definitely used to be 6, and now it's 4.
Okay.
So that might be a difference too if it's 3 or 4, whatever.
So like, Bourne, Cole Strange, a couple that come to mind immediately. There's
but I don't think you
PUP
would
guys.
like with Bourne, Strange, and Taki. Those are the 3 guys on PUP. You don't want to put them on IR because that waste it's not unlimited, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a certain number.
Yeah. Yes.
Of guys that you can designate to return.
I thought it was 2.
I think it's higher than that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's like 8.
Oh, really? That okay?
I don't know.
Things change a lot.
I'm terrible. I am terrible with details like that. I always have to look them up.
Well, that's why it'll be nice Wednesday. We'll just, here it is. This is what it is.
So as important as the game on Sunday, it's more the roster moves that are going to happen. The guys that aren't going to make the team, the guys that do make the team, who clears waivers to get onto the practice squad afterwards, you know, that whole thing.
I think Bourne's the interesting one.
It is definitely 4 games for IR.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happens with Bourne? He's, I don't know. It's hard to tell because you see
he
started
on PUP.
Yeah, so
right?
he's eligible too, but like he's been around, but he hasn't really been working out. And like a guy like Taki, I've seen a little bit more of him running on the lower
in good
field.
spirits, as opposed to Marty Mapu, who is, I call him moping Marty because he seems so sad.
Week to week,
you know?
Jerod
and
said.
it is 8 players.
8 players.
Okay.
All right, it's pretty flexible.
Yeah.
But you don't want to waste them. When you could put a guy like Bourne on PUP. Cole Strange is probably a lock for PUP.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wouldn't want to put him on IR and waste one of those 8 spots when you can just put him on PUP.
Right.
And it's 4 games minimum either way. So
so it's going to be a busy weekend and a couple days after the game. Now, have you guys come out with your roster projections or anything like that? No.
I mean, Evan did one a while ago. I don't know, Paul, if you do.
So I did one heading into camp. Do you think we should do another one?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Evan's been doing them, which.
Yeah, but that's Evans.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Got issues with that one.
Sort of my role.
I haven't done one.
All right. Maybe I'll whip one.
You can
maybe
just
I'll
take
whip
Evans
one together
and just say where you differ. I mean, rather than
maybe
do
I'll
the
whip
whole
one
thing.
together. I'll tell you what I.
Why? Here's where Evan's wrong.
That's a colleague on colleague crime.
That's all right.
One of the things that I have found kind of difficult is guys like Taki that, I had on the roster, finding where those replacements will be. And, I think they're going to end up keeping 7 wide receivers to start, plus Bourne on PUP. I wouldn't have said that, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, because I didn't know that these guys were going to be on PUP. And,
Yeah. Hence the reason why you have to do the projection
like,
again.
you lose Matthew Judon.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
where, do you take a guy there? I think that you could end up seeing more cornerbacks. Like, I could see a scenario where it's, beyond Gonzo and Jonathan Jones, and Marcus Jones. Those are the three guys you feel really good about. I could see Sean Wade, Marco Wilson, Alex Austin, and Isaiah Bolden all making it. Or even Marcellus Dial.
Because 7 cornerbacks.
Right. So you have to figure out, the 53 best in your mind, as well as positionally, because I don't know how many is too many at both corner and wide receiver, but it doesn't do you any good if they're the best. They're among the best 53 if they're not going to play.
Right. And then
it's hard position.
It is hard.
I think the cornerback position, to me, every time I look at it, and you just rattled off the names, Paul, nobody's separated themselves from that lower, below those top 3. And Mayo said it, Austin, Wilson, kind of rotationally in there.
How versatile is a guy? How many different cornerback positions can he play?
Bolden
Does he play special teams?
Yeah, Bolden plays special teams, has some return ability.
All big.
But you have a few low-round draft picks that they've made that you want to see how they feel about those guys. Do they see a future? Alex Austin didn't draft here, but, was still, second-year guy. So him, Bolden, Dial, these are all, young guys that I don't really have a feel for yet. I feel
really good about the safeties.
Yeah.
But I don't feel anywhere near as good about the corners. Yeah. Now there's numbers in the corners.
Yeah,
but I don't.
It's quality depth.
Mike just said it. Like Marco Wilson, Alex Austin, Sean Wade. I could make an argument any given day. Well, he looks really good today.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're like, well, he gave up 3 passes today. There's just, and Jerod Mayo said that about, I don't know, 4 or 5 practices ago, maybe.
Yep.
Just looking for a guy to establish some consistency among that group.
Yep.
Yeah. One more thing I would say too, Fred, is just without the Chris Boards of the world, without a lot of the pure special teamers other than maybe Schooler, maybe there's some, just opportunities there as well that, you can keep somebody who you might have some potential to play on the roster.
This is interesting too. I think they're going to have just as many of those guys, but I think that
you won't realize it.
What Mayo is really trying to do is not make you think that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's given Schooler a ton of reps at safety.
Yeah, he has.
Christian Ellis, Raekwon McMillan. Those guys, if they're on the roster, are going to be special teams players.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
If in a jam they have to go in, they had a little experience at it.
Right.
And that's the old Belichick thing.
Right. It's just like what Bill used to do, but the only one that didn't really fall into that was Slater.
Yeah.
He
didn't even practice with the team.
Right. Those other guys, like Raekwon McMillan's been all over the defense. He had a really strong game against the Eagles Thursday night.
Said he's banged up.
And then he's in the back on a red jersey.
Yeah.
Can't get a break. Tough.
So, but I
identified him in the draft.
But
one of my back of the envelope guys.
The R lads.
Yeah. Raekwon McMillan.
To Miami? You liked him going to Miami?
No, Alabama.
That year?
Or was he?
No, Raekwon McMillan. When he was coming out of the draft, he was one of my back of the envelope guys.
But then Miami took him.
I know, but I wanted him.
Oh, okay. No, I don't remember that. No, I'm giving you a thumbs up.
Okay.
He found that gem in Alabama.
Although he's kind of been disappointing.
He has been. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Alabama? Raekwon McMillan? I thought he was Ohio State.
No, I fess up to even the guys that don't.
CTE. I need to.
He wasn't Ohio State. I'm pretty sure of that.
He wasn't?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. You might.
I don't. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know.
I just liked him.
I don't know why Ohio State's sticking out to me, but.
You're thinking of Andy Katzenmoyer.
I think the listeners are right. I'm done.
I gotta know. Oh, really? You're done?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking
Matt,
of,
it's been a good run. Thanks for having me.
Speaking of what Jerod said, Dan Roach asked him a question about when he would know, or is there a deadline, or I forget the exact wording of the question.
I'm back.
When there would be a starting quarterback, and he said, by Monday night we'll know. Not that I'll tell
now.
you.
I actually know now.
But we should know. So. Is he just kind of playing coy, or do you think he honestly believes that there could be a decision to be made on Monday night?
I don't believe it. I think that it's Jacoby Brissett. They've been kind of telling us the whole time. My whole thing with all of this is that this is why Bill never made declarative statements about players, because I think as Jerod is learning in this first month of camp, everybody here writes down what you say, and they're going to throw it back in your face if it's not a competition, if the reps aren't divided up right. So you understand why Bill said less and didn't get caught in those traps. And now there's a lot of different things that Jerod has said over these last few weeks that people are like, well, this doesn't make sense with this. And, it's not all jiving with
But
what
at the end of the
narrative
day,
is.
the bottom line is the goal is the same.
Yeah.
People don't know what the answer is.
And I will say this. In 2021, Bill said it'll be a competition
Yeah.
between Cam Newton and Mac Jones, and he said Cam Newton is the starter. He said at some point heading in, so maybe OTAs.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he was
And-
definitive about it.
And then
yeah.
when he decided, that was it. Now, the only thing that I would say I'm strongly with Mike here on this is Bill said that in like May and then never addressed it again
Right,
until
yeah.
he decided, I'm going to announce that Mac Jones is the quarterback, whereas Jerod is
Yeah.
entertaining the questions virtually every press conference.
Yep.
Yeah. But the fact that, Jerod hasn't announced who the starter is yet, for week one.
I'm with him.
Every other team
Well, I know,
has
and
with a
that's-
young quarterback.
That's another thing that's just like, I saw the conversation going on yesterday around the outlets and stuff. It's like, does anyone really think that Drake May's going to win the starting job today or tomorrow? And like the last two practices, like I think it's already settled. I think that they're going to do what they've been telling us all along. They're going to start Jacoby Brissett, and we'll see May, when it's time. But I don't really see there to
I think
be a
it's-
decision to be made.
What
Sorry, Mike.
what if, because after Sunday night's game, there's 2 weeks before the season opener.
All of a sudden it's just May.
Like maybe,
Yeah.
do you think he says, I'm going to wait one more week to make my decision and see how that
He might wait one more week to tell us, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's
You don't
waiting
think- you don't think
to
he's-
make it, because I just really feel like it's
and,
time to
and
get
is it
ready.
his decision?
It's
Yeah.
time. Well, so I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
That's great.
another
A
one.
great
That's
topic.
another one.
But I think that he needs time to get whoever he picks fully on board with Cincinnati, and like that whole first month.
Yeah.
Those game plans. But to your point that you just brought up, Fred, on my show yesterday, Felger was just browbeating me about how much power Jerod Mayo actually has. Does he even have a say in this? I was countering, yes, he's the head coach. Like if he decides, look, I get what he said. It's a collaborative, and I agree with that. I believe that. I think that Gerod's being forthright, that Elliott's involved, Alex Van Pelt's involved, and the offensive coaches. Yeah. But I feel, and if you guys disagree, that's fine. Like, let's face it, no one's been wrong more than me. If he decides, if Alex Van Pelt just says, I just don't think this kid's ready yet,
Right.
and Jerod is really adamant that he is,
Yeah. There'll be a
like,
conversation.
you're telling me that
right.
Jerod Mayo's doesn't have the power to start him and say, duly noted, Alex.
Yeah.
I get it. He's going to start this week. You're
Yeah.
telling me he can't do that? I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that Mayo would have. Now, more realistically, if they're not all on the same page, like
Right.
they'll probably
That's
wait.
Or
Yeah.
they'll hammer it out. They'll
Yeah.
have it in other words, I don't think Gerod's waiting for Alex Van Pelt to tell him what to do.
Like Michael,
I think Jerod has his own opinion, and I think if they are different, I think there'll be a conversation to be had.
I think so.
Yeah.
And Felger was just adamant that Jerod has no juice. Like
Yeah.
Mayo has no power. He has no control over his.
I don't believe that.
Like when he said yesterday, and we should probably talk about some of the stuff that he said yesterday, because it was a kind of interesting press conference with Jerod. But when he had that comment about, I'd like to think that I have final say over who's on the field, and he kind of laughed. You could take that one of two ways. Now, of course, Mike and Tony took it as like he's like bitching about his lack of power. I took it as, well, he was being sarcastic. Like, yes, Elliot Wolf has final say over the roster, but I'm the coach.
On
I
game
decide
day.
who plays
Right,
on game day.
Right.
And he was kind of like you. So you agree with Mike and Tony?
no. I'm just.
That's okay.
I'm going
Okay.
back to saying sarcasm don't fly in press conferences, and that's
Well,
that's a
because-
BDO one.
Right.
Like, that's
because people.
That's him. I mean, I was
Yeah.
just going to say that I think you've heard it from Elliot Wolf. You've heard it from Mayo. Like, no, it's like we're all kind of on the same page now. We don't know when we're going to disagree.
Right.
So I think so far they're still in the honeymoon phase, at least as far as the
Sure.
personnel. But no, I agree with what you were saying. I mean, I don't think he's sitting there already saying, I got no power, help. I don't.
I didn't take it that way anyway, and we'll see if he. I feel like if he is adamant, the time is now, and someone else disagrees, I don't think he's going to get overruled.
Yeah.
He's the head coach.
Yeah.
That's
So-
a hypothetical.
It
I'm
is a
just
hypothetical.
Throwing it out there.
The other, I always said it will be apparent that Drake Maye should be playing.
So what do you
but
you've been at the last several practices, Freddie? Because I'm curious. Because Mike and I see, we're out there all the time. We talk after, during, after. We already know what we feel like. You've been out there a lot lately, especially. Yeah. Does he look like he's ready to play, starting week 1?
I do. But here's the thing.
I don't think he even looks close.
Yes. Here's the thing I don't know. I don't know what is happening in the classroom. I don't know what's happening in film study. Maybe he's not doing as well there, and that's why we're not seeing that, passing of the torch.
Yeah.
We don't know that stuff.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen on the field, he's ready.
Oh, physically?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's a question.
Yeah.
That was I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Physically, he blows everybody away.
But I don't know about the other
Except for
stuff,
Milton.
and that could be where Jacoby Brissett still is head and shoulders above him.
But
I don't know
that's
that.
what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
It looks like it's not close. Like, I still see them breaking the huddle, going back in the huddle.
Yeah.
Like, it happens every day.
Yeah.
I think I've kind of come up with a new angle, too, that I've been thinking about. It's just that this is a whole new operation. What do the coaches even really know about their team? And it goes back to, this is a new offense. This is a whole new coaching staff. Like, is there an argument to be made that aside from whether or not Drake is ready, they just don't know. Like, they don't know what the problems are going to be. And whereas, at least if we go a few games, look, Ramondre is off to a great start. We feel really good about him. We feel really good about A. B is a huge problem, though, and that's what we're going to have to protect Drake from.
Well,
you kind of know what your problems are a couple weeks
Yeah,
in.
I mean, that kind of clicked with me because, I'm a proponent to have him start right away, May. But a light bulb went off. Let's see how it looks without him first. And then know what we're putting him into.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about the offensive line. I'm talking about, like you just said, the offense as a whole. What are we inserting him into? Because they don't know.
Yeah.
This isn't like an offense that existed last year. So that is a good case to at least do a game, 2, maybe 3, 4. What kind of offense do we have, and what are we putting this kid into? Yeah. Just from a
I'd say everyone wants to go to the offensive line, but what if it's a good thing? What if it's holy crap, Tyquan Thornton has 2 games and man, he's really showcasing.
We
his
know
speed.
it works.
Now we can get Drake in there and we're going to feature that.
Right.
That's going to whereas it's kind of a mixed bag going in.
That just kind of clicked for me a little bit as to a reason why you don't put him in right away.
What's the rush?
Because they don't know what the offense is going to look like.
Are you going to ruin Drake Maye by not playing him for the first 3 weeks of the 2024 season of his rookie year?
Or the other side, are you going to ruin him by playing him? I don't think either.
Yeah,
I don't think you're ruining him either way.
I say all that was the most compelling thing that I've heard.
Let's go
to have him wait a little bit.
Good job, Mike.
A little bit.
I just don't think he looks like he's
but
the development is there yet.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know what the plays are. I don't pretend to, but it just there's still that indecision. There's still the double pumping. Now, if we're just talking about
that's what I was going to say. It's hard not to get enamored.
This
with
guy
the physical.
throws over here and that guy throws over there. Drake Maye is so light years ahead of Brissett.
That's the hard part.
It's not
used to
even
watching
a comparison.
Not really dynamic quarterbacks the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden, mentally he might be swimming, lost. But when you see him make some of these throws, you see him throw on the move, you see how he gets out of the pocket. It's like those things to us who are so conditioned of watching quarterbacks who can't throw the ball down the field, who struggle to throw deep outs, that can't get outside of the pocket, and so those things are almost like the shiny new parts of the car that you're like, look at this, but it's the engine isn't quite ready to go, but the chassis and then the paint job and all that looks beautiful. We can't wait to get it out on the street.
Speaking of the engine, so the other part of the offense that we're kind of not talking about right now is the running game. Mm-hmm. If the running game is good, that's going to go a long way in making either quarterback look better.
If it's terrible.
But if it's terrible,
that's scary.
And maybe that's another reason to forget about the line itself and protecting the quarterback. Can we get a running game going?
Yeah, and they told us 100 times that's the basis of their offense. So I think if you want to talk about is Drake Maye going to get in there and they get out there and they're able to have a little success running the ball early in the season, it's probably a good sign that they will have at least a functioning kind of offense.
If every drive is 3rd and 11, no quarterback's going to look good.
And Mayo said yesterday there's a couple other things that we didn't mention. One was about the running game. He's really excited about the running game. He thinks it's been really good. And
how do you know?
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think I think the backs themselves have run hard. I think Stevenson against Philadelphia really picked up a lot of yards after contact, a couple of third and shorts that he got all on his own. But, like, sometimes
But I don't want that.
Right. It's easy to say. It's easy to say, well, it's 3rd and 1 and they move the chains. Yeah, obviously that's the bottom line. That's what we all want in a game. You don't care. They don't ask you by how much as long as you got the first down. But I'd like to not have him have to break a tackle in the backfield on 3rd and 1.
Right.
And he had to do it twice.
Oh, yeah. No, there was
in
no
that
room.
game. They had the very first play of the preseason against Carolina. Ramondre bounced it outside, went up the sideline for like 11 yards. I don't think they've had really any other good runs, blocked runs, unless it was like late in the game. Like
I
Terrell
think Jennings had a little one.
Jennings had like a 20-yard run, but
that
like
was the biggest one.
Like Harris and Stevenson have really had to plow their way to any yards that they've gotten.
I mean, this might be the bigger piece. Everyone wants to talk about the pass protection and the left tackle, but like this might be the bigger piece of making this offense functional is having the run game go, which will then enable the protection to not be quite have all the pressure on it, like you said, Fred, where it's 3rd and long, and you're like, all right, here we go, 7-step drop, like
So that's that goes back to what you say. So you're after 3 games and they can't run. It's like, well, what are we putting them in there for?
And that's why I want to sort of change the approach. And I know that's not what Alex Van Pelt wants to do. He keeps saying it. We're a run team. He's probably saying it right now. He's talking right now. 12:36 is probably in front of the podium or the backdrop, whatever they call that.
Yeah. They
I
call
would
it
like
the step and repeat, Paul.
Okay. I would like to see them sort of, go away from that and do a lot of easy throws on first down.
Too.
Like
high percentage.
I think I think that Drake May has shown to be really effective with that hard, show the ball fake, quick turn, dump to the tight end for like 7.
Yeah.
So now it's 2nd and 3 instead of 2nd and 9.
Now your whole playbook's open, right?
Yeah. Now I could do whatever I want.
Last year they do a sneak, and I'd be so mad. You got 2nd and 1.
Fred's been mad for about 15 years.
They could do 2nd and 1, and they do a quarterback sneak. What are you doing? You're wasting a play.
Wasn't good.
All right. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Let's get to some of the phone calls, if I can get my mouse to line up. Yep, there it is. Let's see. Eldred has been holding on. What's up, Eldred?
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing good, okay. Paul, love your honesty. Love your honesty, buddy. But I'm still from North Carolina, but even though I'm not in Missouri, you still got to show me. And what you said at the beginning about holding pumping a little bit and to show flashes, saw that too. But if the kid come out and play good, I'm behind him 100%. But right now, you got to show me. But I got a game for everybody, okay, if you don't mind. It's called Championship Foundation. I got it off of Buddha Sticks with Jeremiah and Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories. Blue chips. That's the top player in the 5-10 of their position. Green is player that's functional and reliable, and you might move them up to blue. Purple is a rookie, unproven, but a blue chip quality. Pink is young player, unproven. Yellow is coming off injuries, or you either got a contract dispute or you're older players. Okay? You're choosing from 3 categories: quarterback, wide receiver, running back. 3 offensive linemen, 2 pass rushers, and playmakers, linebackers and cornerback, 2 each. Who is your blue chip?
Nobody.
On this team right now, who would you put as a blue chip?
Why? You know the answer to this, Eldred.
This is a.
You know the answer.
This
What, do
game's
you
going
just
to
want
take
us to say
forever.
it?
Is there a green?
I don't know. I need a key.
Green.
I was only
Okay,
kidding.
green is a stable player, functional player that you can rely on.
Okay,
And
blue chip
got a lot
on
of
the
greens.
blue
No.
chip on the
They got a few
offensive
greens.
line is David Andrews, right?
No.
On this team. On
No,
this
it's the
team.
yellow.
Are we talking about just
The yellow.
by comparison to this team or like the league?
Oh.
David Anderson, I don't
No,
think
then
David
I don't think
Andrews
we
is
have
considered-
any blue
Judon or
chippers.
Barmore, there isn't.
Yeah,
this guy.
Barmore's out.
Barmore.
He's not playing.
That's it.
But I think they have a lot of solid players.
This is a very complicated game, Eldred, and not one that we can do
It's like
in
that.
the
That was
show.
like Ralph Wilson. It was a really
Yeah.
complicated
Okay.
proposal,
Well,
and I didn't
it's not
understand
that
it.
complicated.
Who
The
did
answer
you?
is they're not. They're very
Do you have like
talented.
just a simple question where you take it off the air?
Yeah, I take it up there.
Send in the
Just do
key.
that.
That's what I need. I need
Thanks,
the key.
Big E.
All right, thanks, Ellsworth. Yeah, that's like the
There was a
long
lot of-
emails.
there were a lot
I
of-
They
can't
won
deal
4
with that.
games last
Yeah.
year.
There were a lot of
missed
colors.
Yeah, a lot of colors.
They got some solid players.
Mr. Pink.
They
I
got
don't
some-
know.
Your guy.
Peppers is a
your
good
guy.
player. Yeah.
Peppers and Duggar.
I think Peppers might be our best defensive player right
rock
now.
solid players.
I said it
Peppers and Duggar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think good, solid players. I think Tavai and Bentley are good, solid players. I just don't think they're blue chips.
Yeah.
No.
Like if that's what you're sort
Yeah.
of getting at.
They're not superstars in the league. Let's go to Bobby in Connecticut. What's up, Bobby? Bobby in Connecticut.
Bobby, Cindy.
I think he's trying to figure out Eldred's game.
Wow.
I think
Deuce
that's
never
what's going
dropped
on
any
there.
calls.
Will
Deuce never
Will's
drops
in
anything.
Cranston. Hey, Will.
Hey guys, how's it going today?
Good.
Hey, Will.
Two things I want to touch on today. One of them is I feel like people are really overreacting to the Jerod Mayo press conferences a lot. I feel like the big picture's kind of been aligned the whole preseason all along, and I feel like people are just kind of really trying to make a story out of the day instead of the bigger picture with him. I feel like everybody keeps nitpicking him, and he's saying a whole bunch of different things, but really saying nothing at all, kind of like Bill Belichick would do. And also, another thing that I wanted to touch on was I feel like Drake Maye should definitely be the starter coming up, considering Jacoby Brissett has been steady, just like he has been for 8 years, but you don't really hear a lot of stuff for progression from him, whereas you hear a lot of improvement from Drake Maye. AVP came out last week and was saying, a couple weeks ago, to the season ticket holders, and was saying that his progressions were ahead of schedule, and I'd just like to see the kid get a shot over somebody who's kind of been a perennial backup. But let me know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
I think that's the hard part is that Jacoby Brissett just has not played well.
Well, he's reached his ceiling.
But
And-
even
and-
the
now
ceiling
he's
I
not
thought
even
he
playing
had
to that.
since
Yeah.
throwing that pick in that game, it hasn't been good in practice. It hasn't been consistent, and that has been. And I don't want to say that's as much of a factor of what Drake's rise has been, but he's been sloppy with the ball, and if he's going to be throwing interceptions, it's like I don't know if we can do this again.
I would totally agree with that assessment of the last week, but it's impossible for a 9-year guy to improve in camp at the rate of a rookie.
Right. Because there's not as much room for improvement.
He is
Right.
what he is.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
Mike just made a comment that you've been a little, disappointed that it hasn't looked any better.
Just solid.
So it all comes down to what you actually thought. And I've said this many times in the offseason, there's a blanket assumption with the 2024 Patriots that the offense can't possibly be worse and the quarterback play can't possibly be worse.
Right.
And I keep saying, why do we say those things?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm not telling you they will be worse, or they are worse, but Jacoby Brissett has never proven to be any more than a backup.
Right.
I think he's a great backup because I think he has the perfect mentality and attitude to be an asset to any team that he's on. I think he's a wonderful teammate and a respected veteran. And now he has experience. So if you need to plug him in, I think he's really well suited for that. But when he's had to play consecutive weeks in games, he's not really had a lot of success in the league.
Right.
So I don't know why we're automatically assuming it's going to be better than it was last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd back up that point, Paul, by saying the last couple of weeks, that first team offense with him, it ain't looked much different than what we watched in training camp.
So the
last
offense
couple
in
years.
general, no matter who's playing quarterback, has looked eerily similar. I mean, different plays, different schemes, but production-wise, eerily similar to the
Unproductive.
last 2 years.
Yeah, but all you have to do this year to be better is score 2 touchdowns a game.
That'll
then
be what that's what you are. You averaged 13 points
Yeah.
a game last year. 14. That's
well-
what are you doing? I know everybody says that,
Yep.
but first of all, I need to see it. I'll tell you what the hope, and this is how I turned it yesterday when they asked me what are some of the things the defense has been really good on paper, right? Last year the numbers said that the defense was top 10. But they didn't really force a lot of turnovers. Maybe you force a lot of turnovers and you set up some points.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Yeah.
Because takeaways kind of ebb and flow. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
really good defensively, but You're not coming up with a lot of takeaways. Maybe this year they do.
Yeah. But that's a hard way to live.
That's how they, like, the 2 games that they've played in the preseason, their scoring drives have been like 30 yards. Like, they haven't had these, like, 75-yard drives.
Grinds.
Right.
They're taking over in plus territory, long.
Right.
Your guy, David Wallace, with a good punt return, I think, set up one of the scores in one of the games. The scoring drives have all been very short. They've had great field position and still haven't been able to put any points on the board.
Brandon writes in, do you feel it's possible Drake Maye is getting reps with the ones behind closed doors? After hearing David Andrew yesterday saying he did this during his first year, it had me curious.
No, not yet. That will be a possibility starting next week. Well, right now, we're seeing every practice. They can't be out there without us being there. That would be a violation.
Right, and they can't have another practice
That's
later
what I'm saying.
on,
They
right?
can't. The field time that they have is their allotted field time. But next week, we'll be out there for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and that's absolutely in play. I think the emailer's got something
Probably
very plausible.
Trick plays, all that kind of stuff will start to go in
just
next
like
week.
Drake Maye with David Andrews in the first offense, like, we're not seeing it, and then all of a sudden you go into the next week, with Cincinnati week, and they know what they've seen, at least.
I did think yesterday's practice was a little interesting, just for me, limited training camps I've covered, but it felt like that's probably what kind of a regular season practice is like, with going off cards, and you're not really having competitions internally and trying to put reps together where you're trying to figure your team out. It's more just we're just trying to get our guys ready to play against what they're going to play against.
People have asked a lot, like, have you seen differences? And that's one difference. Bill did more the card stuff in preseason, even.
Yeah.
Because he used to always say you have to put your guys out there with a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
So he did what Jerod did yesterday. Bill would do for a practice heading into the first and second preseason game as well. Now, I haven't seen much, if any, card work until yesterday. Did you?
No.
I thought that was the first that we've really seen. They're running Washington plays.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe a little before the Eagles practice, but I don't think
that could be.
Yeah. Jane, Rhode Island, Max started right away, and he had a fine season. He just sucked. Dre will be fine starting right away. Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, I
don't think it's apples to apples, though. That's the only thing. Is Mac Jones was 5 years at Alabama and came in by largely considered a finished product. Everybody said his ceiling isn't much higher than what it is now, but he's pro ready. Whereas most people think that Maye is at 21 years old, didn't have the same kind of experience. In college, he was only there for 3 years, and has more growing to do. So I don't really think it's the same. Now, Maye blows away Mac Jones in terms of talent.
Yeah.
Not even a comparison.
Alicia writes in, going into the season, I braced myself that this is a rebuilding year, knowing that everything that goes with that. My mindset back in the beginning of the year was concern for the offense, but confidence in our defense. I knew that the season would have ups and downs with a healthy team. However, I feel like the team is going through quite a few injuries before the season even kicks off. Offensive line, tight ends, and our defense, to name the main ones. I do know that injuries occur to each team every year, but for some reason, these injuries seem like they may play more significant role in the overall outcome of the season. I'm not sure if my take is negative or ignorant, so please calm my nerves.
No, I don't think it's. No. I don't think it's either.
I would say that I don't think the injuries are any more severe than in the past. But what you worry about more is because we don't have the depth. That these injuries, like even if they're the same as past years or during the Brady years, they affect you more.
They've also hit a couple of important players, like Barmore and Henry.
You're without your top 4 pass rushers right now. Matthew Judon gone, Barmore hurt, Uche hurt, Zimenez hurt. I mean, that's my biggest
when
concern.
you couple Barmore and Judon leaving, that's a big hit.
Yeah, I'm just talking about injuries. Like Barmore and Henry are significant injuries. Now, I don't know how long Henry's going to be out. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's not as big a concern as I might be making out to be right now. But because if you have Henry and Hooper, like, that's fine. But if you're missing one of those guys and you're missing potentially a third guy in Wilcox, who was back out on the field yesterday, but not in full pads. That's an issue. Like the pass rushing thing, you traded Judon. Like that's it for your pass rush.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to adequately replace that.
Jake kind of is saying the same thing that Deuce was saying. Just want to say I look forward to the Patriots show. Feels like the voice of reason a lot of the time. Love the analysis and deep dives. I'd love to see Maye come in for the home Dolphins game. Not because I don't think he could handle coming in earlier, but I really want to see how the rest of the team looks under Brissett as sort of a control in the Maye experiment. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's an angle that I didn't even really think of just seeing getting something to compare it to. You know, like if Maye comes right in, the offense is what the offense is. You have no idea, what it might look like if Jacoby Brissett was capable.
Is it Maye or is it the offense?
Right, and then
it's gotta be
around and around we go.
Yeah. So I'm starting to convince myself to wait a few games.
Did it. Finally did it.
I mean, everybody's writing in about Maye. Who is this? Does it say JH maybe? Does it make sense for Drake Maye to take more playing time against the first-string defenses so that while he's learning, they're getting better at defending against a more dynamic quarterback? It doesn't sound like Brissett is exactly lighting it up and making it difficult for them. With some of the QBs we have to play against, I think it could help. Also, what's it going to take to go into Miami and win this year? We got to beat the Finns at home. Tua is too comfy against us.
That is true. I mean, my first thing I would say is that there's a lot of rotation on defense, and it's kind of rare when you have that's the starting 11. I mean, there's always going to be an Alex Austin out there or a Josh Bledsoe but I think Maye has had some quality team reps against majority starter types on defense. I don't think it's quite as cut and dry where he's always going against
the email,
Mikey
though.
Victor.
I do.
Yeah, no,
I like the email. Like I think there's something to be said for it. Like I guess the pluses and minuses. The pluses are what he's saying. Like it gives them a more dynamic quarterback to go against, and maybe offers a different look. The minuses are if he's mentally not ready to take advantage of his athleticism against them, and is it worth it? But the one thing that you get back to is practice for a guy like Drake Maye. I don't think it's necessarily conducive to his skill set because they don't want him running around.
Yeah, and
you can't hit him. It was like one of the things. The Tuesday joint practice, I think we had 14 sacks. I think that was the number.
I lost track, Paul.
But I think that was the number that most people were reporting. Yeah. How many of those would have actually been sacks in a game? Same play. Right. Same pressure, same play. Like, both guys would have had an opportunity
to escape
the pocket that you're not afforded in a practice setting.
Right.
And the answer might have been 14. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
It could have been 14 with 3 strip sacks for all we know.
Or it could have been, 18.
Right.
Like maybe they would have, avoided on a couple of other times and eventually gotten sacked.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe
I'd say too.
It was just looked bad that day.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I'd say just one more point. I don't even necessarily think though Maye going against the personnel is the thing. It's going against the scheme and going against how they post snap, rotate safeties. I mean, there's a lot going on, and I think that's a lot of value. It's as much as you'd love to see him out there going against having to complete passes against Christian Gonzalez or Jonathan Jones. Getting just a feel for the game and especially with this defense, which DeMarcus Covington I think is making it clear that they are going. We're going to send in 7. We're going to send 3. I mean, it's going to be all over the map like that, and that's the stuff that he needs to get reps to understand how different defenses are going to play.
Yeah. Back on the Ace Ticket Hotline, we'll go to Melvin in Tennessee. What's up, Melvin?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
Hey,
Sweet kid.
Melvin.
Hey, y'all just talked about the defensive line a little bit. So it's funny that all of them never really came together to kind of, I wouldn't say peak all at once, but they've all had spurts from Wise, of course, Judon, Ballmer. They never really, I feel like they never really came together at their peak. But they have, since the Batman of that little group are gone with Judon and Ballmer now. But of course, we're left with the Robins. And when I saw Keon White in this last Patriots game, I think he's all right. He just would have been so much. I think it'll be better with Baltimore. I like him rushing more from the inside, obviously, but outside, I just still have a lot of trepidation with him. He is what he is, but he's going to step up big time because that bull rush he does, it just doesn't seem like he's work too much or develop too much of outside moves. I just feel like that's going to be a hard way for him to survive. And we got to depend on that, which I know that's probably not his ideal thing, which is a pass rush from what I remember from the draft. But I just hope that they can kind of piece it together, and this is year 2 for him, so maybe he has that growth and he can kind of go to the next level. But just so far from watching him, I still have just like my thoughts about him about not necessarily being that next level guy, but good player, just not. I just want something better, I guess.
Yep.
But that's the only thing I got with him.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Melvin. I mean, we don't
totally
talk
agree.
a lot about
totally
Keon
agree.
White, but
Great call.
He came into the league as a tweener. Like they didn't really know, and he's got strength, but he doesn't really have a lot of speed on the outside.
Yeah, he said it himself.
And he's got the strength, but not the girth for the inside. So he's like in between.
I mean, everything that he just said on that call, Keon White told you himself.
He said it
last week.
About a week ago.
And he's got some moves on the inside. Like he's, but, what's funny is after the game, I mean, I'm kind of on a Keon White island. But, I said to Paul, I was like, his sack, it's the same thing. Like, it's like he just he runs straight into the guy, and that time the guy didn't get deep enough and he got around him. He needs to develop if he's ever going to be that edge guy. I think I don't need to repeat everything he just said, but inside pass rusher, you got to think about him more as replacing some Barmore snaps than replacing Judon snaps, I think. Even though
I agree.
They'll probably have him on the edge early downs as a run stopper. Him and Anthony Jennings, they're be pretty stout. But, again, how many sacks are those two guys going to have right now? Because right now you look at the depth chart, they're the guys. I mean, Jimenez, I know he's hurt. He was back yesterday. He was limited. Uche has had the weirdest camp I think I've ever experienced. Like, I don't get what's going on with Josh Uche this whole year.
Can we do like a 15-second aside on Uche?
Okay.
So Mike's point about he's had the strangest camp. When camp opened, he was out there every day, but really not doing a whole lot. Clearly dealing with something physically. Spent some time in the lower rehab field. Didn't really take part in very many 11-on-11 reps, right?
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, the Philadelphia preseason game came, and he got like 30 reps, 30 snaps.
Right.
Since then, he's been back to the lower rehab field and not really taken part fully in practice.
I know Jerod said it had nothing to do with the fight.
Well, I don't think it did.
But wasn't he involved in the fight?
He was involved in some pushing and shoving after the play.
Okay.
Where the Eagles took exception to the hit on that McMillan put on the blocker on the kickoff.
But what other explanation is there?
I don't know. And I mean, we were even speculating early on, like, is he unhappy with his contract?
I don't care if he took one snap in the first quarter and then he came out of the game. Why is he playing in a preseason game if he's not 100%?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think with him.
But the 100% part, I don't think it's right to punish a guy if he's not 100%.
I mean, what if it's his role is so narrow that we don't need you in practice?
That's just what I was going to say. And I feel kind of like this connects to Dietrich Wise, too, that they've kind of like, you're good at this and you're going to do this.
Right.
We're done. Like with Dietrich Wise, you're a good pass rusher. You're going to be a pass rusher now.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a sign of a new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball, adjusting a little bit to the roles because I don't get it. I mean, like I was saying, like we were speculating, is he unhappy with the contract he signed? Like he just something is seen kind of off. This whole
and he has mentioned the contract, not to us, but to something that before camp started, some kind of podcast or
but he
something.
Just signed that.
I know. Right? And then he saw everybody sign for much more. And I think he left his agency. So I think that's part of it.
It's going to be hard for him this year because they're going to have to get to third and long.
The best thing he can do is have a good year.
Yeah, I mean, but they're going to have to get to third and long somehow to get him on the field and get him involved.
Right.
So you're going to have to be really stout, really good up front on early downs, and you're going to need guys like Keon White or I should say, you're going to need guys like
he seems cranky,
Jeremiah Farms and Daniel Aquale to produce early down pass rush pressure because you can't just have your front seven build the wall and nobody's running around making plays.
We should mention they released Mike Purcell yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't all that surprised. He's just a body, it seemed like, as a nose tackle. They like Aquale.
I think Jeremiah Farms has had a good camp.
He's kind of well-rounded. I mean, I'm curious to see how it translates. There's certain guys that you get kind of excited about in camp. You get to the regular season, they don't play.
It's a good point.
I don't know about him.
I've been down this road before.
On the line,
it's a good point.
Aquale, nobody talking about him. He's going to play a lot. He's going to play next to Godchild. They're going to be probably the top two inside. But,
does that worry you?
Yeah, I mean, of course. They got nothing else.
We were expecting Barmore.
I know.
So everything else is going to be a drop-off.
But I'm just talking about, like, in terms of they have guys like we talk about Wise as being sort of one-dimensional, or Quality kind of is too. He's a sub rusher in the interior. Now I think you're asking him to increase his role, and I wonder if he's one of those guys that's not as effective the more he plays.
That's totally. I mean, unproven commodity. It's like this is what you're left with. This is the guy.
I mean, you never know how the season unfolds, but what if we're looking at a team that can get pressure but can't stop the run?
So our good buddy Greg Bedard, actually, run defense is one of his concerns. Now, I would argue in this day and age, if that's one of the bigger concerns, okay.
Yeah.
We're okay. And I'm not telling you it's great to not be able to stop the run, but you'll be okay if you can do the other stuff well.
If they can't stop the run, I think their whole philosophy is broken, because you look at these guys, they're all run stoppers, like Godshaw, Bentley, Tavai, Jennings, Keon White. They're all big dudes who can like win physical battles one-on-one, but that would be a terrible sign for this defense that they're going to, if they couldn't stop the run. That's like one thing I'm like just willing to say that's going to be okay, I think. But
the short yardage run defense has been really good. They have a couple of fourth down stops in the I mean, I know it's preseason.
I know.
I don't know what.
What do we know?
We don't know anything. Let's see. Spee in Fresno. Don't know if he's ready yet, but as Jerry would say, love the Drake. Couple questions. One, if they don't start Drake May in week 1, would you guess the decision is guided more by the pre-existing plan to go with Brissett, or more by the staff's genuine sense that May hasn't shown adequate command of the playbook yet?
Both.
Okay.
Completing each other's sentences.
And 2, all else being equal, would you rather go into the season with present-day Mac Jones and the 2014 Patriots defense, or present-day Drake May with this year's defense? Maybe the answer changes if Mac gets paired with 2003's defense.
Give me May. I don't need to watch another Mac Jones. You can put Mac Jones on 2017. I'll be all right. I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, in today's NFL, you got to have the offense.
Yeah.
You
got to have the quarterback. And that was the bottom line when I went on one of Paul's shows this morning, is that I don't know if Drake May is the guy, but he's got the makings of being the guy. And that's the hardest piece to find. And for right now, I get why everybody's focused on him. He's the whole story right now.
I'm just looking to see if there's anything on the Twitter about
assistance, things that were said.
Yeah.
I think this is a funny show where, I'm so used to off-season shows where we have to, like, nothing happens, and we have, like, 6 shows and nothing's really happening. And then this is a show where I feel like I've watched, like, 10 practices and haven't done a PU, and you have so much that's happened. It's hard to, like, get everything out that you've been observing.
Tim, our friend from Duncan, writes in, looking forward to another season, hoping that Drake May... Well, he's stepping on his email.
Sorry. Mike,
I'm hoping that Drake May can somehow get the starting nod in Cincy. I'm flying in for the game, and as always, want to win, and I believe that Drake gives us the best opportunity to win on a weekly basis. Am I crazy? I understand the developmental process, and initially thought sitting him was probably the best plan, but the more I see, the more I believe Drake is the best option for both the future and now. And he says, by the way, I had a chance to meet Paul, Mike, and Evan at the last open practice. They are class guys that made me feel welcome and appreciated.
Oh, nice.
Well, now that Andy's gone.
That's true.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah,
yeah, it's a good question.
Let's get back to the phones. Dominique's in New York. What's up, Dominique?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
Good.
Good. I got like a really kind of niche question. So one of the things I've noticed, especially in the NFL, is how specific the injury reports are. Turf toe, like ACL injuries, et cetera, et cetera. But I've seen in the NHL, they just kind of name them lower body injury or upper body injury. I don't know if you know the reason as to why that is. I don't know if that's something NFL players advocate for, like less disclosure on injury and whatnot. But I've always been curious about it. I appreciate it, but I never knew why, like in some sports, they're just a little bit more specific to injuries versus not. Yeah. And I'll take it offline.
All right, Dominic. I mean, even within the NFL, it's a team-by-team thing.
Yeah.
Some teams are just more specific with the injury than other teams. I think there's a minimum requirement from the league where you have to at least address the area of the body where the injury is, but other teams get more specific.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, right calf instead of right leg.
Brady, wasn't Brady like right shoulder forever? Like that was one that was always on there.
Well, at least it was the shoulder and not the whole arm, But But I think in the NFL, it's up to the team to at least meet the minimum requirement, but then they can go into more specific if they want.
Can I read something to you guys, and I want you to tell me what you think. This is from Ben Vaughn, who tweeted out about a half hour ago. More mixed. Sorry, he said. Let me start that again and see if I can do it in English. More mixed messaging from the Patriots about Week 1 QB. Offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt says Jacoby Brissett is currently the starter, but when asked if it could be Drake Maye, he says, quote, "I'm sure there's a chance."
Okay.
What's the mixed message there?
Right.
Oh,
right.
So this is a Volan
right.
thing.
No.
Right. As of today.
To be honest, this is not a Volan thing. This is something that has sort of like been on my mind since post-game Thursday when Jerod Mayo said, Friday, it was the day after press conference on Friday, the competition is still open. I believe that's kind of what he said at the start of camp.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, again, he had to sort of reiterate, no. Jacoby Brissett is QB1 right now. He never said Jacoby Brissett is starting Week 1.
Right. Right.
At least to my knowledge.
Right.
So I don't really know where one of the questions he was asked yesterday is like, what about the changing message? And I really don't think he's changed it.
Has anyone asked the direct question, is Jacoby Brissett starting Week 1?
I think
so.
people have asked him if
you
he's made if you made a decision
Yeah.
on the starter Week 1.
All right.
I think so.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, most of the stuff that I'm seeing on Twitter with regard to Van Pelt is videos.
Yeah.
Like, this is what he had to say, and
Can't do it.
Okay.
Can't watch a video.
Just a quick one that just popped in my head because you're reading Twitter, and I read this on Twitter probably. There's been a slight uptick on violent threats to players tied to gambling. In other words, people losing money and,
oh man,
targeting violent threats at athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like was it Colombian soccer or what's?
Oh, they shot the guy. It was an own goal.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even think that had anything to do with gambling. They were just pissed.
No, they just lost.
Yeah. All right. My food's here. Paul doesn't eat anymore, but my food's here. So we'll take a break. It's about halfway through. We'll come back. We'll get to more calls and emails. Is Evan? We should text Evan. Have him call in or something.
Call in.
Yeah. Just give us a in progress report.
I don't think we need that.
You don't need that?
We got a guest coming in.
Oh, we have a guest coming in. All right. All right. Well, we'll have a lot of antics happening after the break. But before we go, just want to remind people that it's easy to drink. It's easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And if you want to kick off your fall shopping with a touchdown, would you like to do that? I would. Head to Bob's Discount Furniture and dare to compare this season's winning styles with the competition. After all, when you shop Bob's Dream Sectional, you get customizable modular design and feather blend cushions available in 2 colors for over $1,000 less than the competition, leaving you with plenty of cash left over for that game day TV. So huddle up and see how much you can save when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, we'll be right back. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
Well, excited any chance we get to come out here on the field and compete. You know, today, I would say this week is a little hybrid type of week for us as far as preparation. Still focusing on NEP, but at the same time trying to make sure our game planning and all that process, the scouting report process, goes smoothly. So out here today, you'll see some overs D. Some of that stuff is carded, right? It's carded, so it's like Washington plays offensively, defensively, and also special teams. So
what does that mean from a reps and depth chart perspective?
That's why I said it's a hybrid of training camp and evaluation and also getting ready for the regular season. So, you know, everything's evaluated. Even the scout team reps are evaluated. So we want those guys to give a good look. At the same time, we're still evaluating those guys.
Does that work on Cincy as well, or more so just focusing on
There's a little work on Cincy. But, you know, as I said earlier, it's still training camp for us. And it's about getting us better and us on the same page. We can't win games until we figure out what we're doing. And that's the goal.
You mentioned that everyone who's healthy will play. Is there any thought process into how much time the quarterbacks will get, and will it be similar to game 2 or a little different?
It'll be a little different. I want to keep that close to the vest though. But look, all the quarterbacks will play in the game.
Jerod, with Kendrick Bourne and Keon White, is this a situation where you expect them to start the season on the PUP list, or do you anticipate one of those or both those guys being back?
You know, when those guys are ready to come back, they'll be out here practicing, and that's the hard part. I don't like to put time limits or deadlines on it. When they're ready to play, and we get them from the weightlifting staff and also Jim Whalen and his staff, then we'll go with it. Oh no! It's him again. It's the same one. It's the same one. I know.
I was going to ask you.
So you guys have been here the whole camp. It's you guys.
It smells funny.
There it is. Right by it's you.
God damn it.
Pause the interview. We got to kill this thing. No, we do not kill bees or anything else.
Yeah, thanks.
Josh Uche's kind of had a curious camp, worked off to the side, hasn't been available for some of the days. Is this something from the off season? Is something that happened during the spring or in the summer here?
It's something that happened during the summer. I don't think it's major, but put him in the bucket once he's ready. He'll go. He is dealing with something though.
And on the same lines with Marte Mapu, we saw him first day, I want to say.
Yep.
Not much since. What can you tell us context-wise? What his situation is?
Yeah, he's one of those guys who I would love to say day to day, but we're probably talking week to week. I'm sure no one ever said that before to you guys, but week to week.
Jerod, heard a few people saying this summer that you don't like the term players coach.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I just think I think I'm going to be a great coach, and whether you want to call it whatever you want to label it as, more power to you. It's the same thing. When people say, "Well, he was a black coach," no, I want to be a good coach first. That happens to be black. That's kind of how I see it. I happen to be a player at one point in time.
How do you think that manifested itself in the way you conducted training camp this summer? As far as this wasn't a team that gave a lot of veteran days off and things like that.
Yeah, because we just have to get better. Coming off of last year, it kept a bad taste in our mouths. We still have a lot of players that returned from then. And I would say, they want to work. And that's the most exciting thing for me. They want to be out here in pads. They want to do live drills and things like that. So that's our goal, is to be better, be a better team this year.
What is the plan with Drake this week, to have him run some of the cards, like you're talking about doing scout team stuff, or is he going to be focused more on Patriots?
No, he'll be focused more on Patriot stuff, and he'll be focused more on Washington stuff, quite frankly.
What do you want to see from the quarterbacks, Drake and Jacoby in particular, this week?
Yeah, I think it starts with the operation. I always say, good huddle, good break, good play. And so it starts in the huddle, then getting guys lined up and going out there executing the play, making the right reads and moving the offense down the field.
When it comes to that pre-snap operation for Drake Maye, is he in a place where if he had to start, you feel like he's ready, or do you feel like he's still kind of coming along?
100%, I think he's ready to run a huddle.
You were very blunt in your assessment of the offensive line in the wake of the Philadelphia preseason game. How do you feel they've responded over the last couple of days?
Yeah, they've responded well. And I will say, going back and looking at the film, the practice, I got that. But if you were to look at the whole body of work with our offensive line, they've done a good job, and they're getting better going forward.
Between joint practices, preseason games, how many snaps do you need to see from a guy to say, I want him on my team? Is there a set number in your mind?
No, not really in my mind. I think, you just want people that love football and that will do everything as far as preparation in the weight room, in the classroom, to get on the field. Those are the guys that I really want. And I'll take a less talented guy that just loves the game of football and he's going to get better with a high ceiling than a player who's just blessed with a lot of athleticism, but it's lazy. So that's kind of how I look at it.
We've talked about the offensive line. You just mentioned Leighton Robinson. We've seen work in a little bit more with the ones in theory.
I hate when you say that.
I know. That's why I put it in quotation marks. Is it because of just how he's playing, or is it something that you're seeing from City? It seems that's sort of competition here.
No, I will. It is a competition. I would say, he's strung, a few weeks together here, and that's the thing. I told these guys at the beginning of camp, there are more people in this room than there are jobs, and so either you're going to hold on to your job or someone's going to take your job. And I would say all those guys have been battling, so it's going to be a tough decision. Ladies first. There you go. Thanks. Such a gentleman.
I asked Michael Wenu right after the first game, or that second game, if there was any plan to move him to tackle, and he said he's just been told he's at guard for right now. But then we've just on work at some tackle this week. What's kind of the plan there?
I would say, look, we always as coaches reserve the right to change our mind, and I don't want that to get misconstrued any type of way. But that was the plan initially, and then as we continue to build depth amongst the offensive line, we had to move those guys around.
Does that have anything to do with Leighton Robinson, as you said, stringing some weeks together?
No, it has everything to do with us just trying to find the right combination. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
I really appreciate it. You're such a gentleman.
Yeah,
Real pro. You brought in several players yesterday, a couple linebackers, wide receiver. What's the thought process behind that at this stage of camp?
Yeah, there's no better evaluation tool than getting guys out here 11v11 and seeing what they can do. We're kind of limited during the season to have guys out there because it's just a workout in the bubble. And so the thought process was, look, bring in some players that we've identified as being potential candidates to be on our team and to see what they have.
I know guys, it's different for different guys, and time of year figures into it as well, but do you anticipate making cuts, or the bulk of your cuts on Tuesday, maybe a little bit before? How's that time?
That's a conversation that Elliot and I have had. We've gone back and forth on how to really do that. What I will say is, when you play a Sunday night game compared to a Thursday night game, you kind of get tight on time. So we'll have those discussions here and also on the road before the game.
Jerod, with those cuts looming, who has the final say to make those cuts between you and Elliot?
Yeah, I thought I was pretty clear about this. For me, Elliot and I are on the same page. I hope it's always that way. You've heard, the horror stories around the league as far as coach and GM relationships are concerned. The final say-so is Elliot. We collaborate on everything. We collaborate. He collaborates on a little bit of scheme things. I collaborate with him as far as evaluation. But I lean on the experts in that world, and Elliot is that guy.
Do you need to come out of Sunday night with a starting quarterback in your mind, and do you need to tell them that early, or what is your plan for that?
I would say by Monday night we should know who the quarterback is. Sunday night game, it's always hard to really crank through the film, especially on the road. But I think Monday, Tuesday, we probably need to know who it is. Now that doesn't mean I'll tell you on Monday or Tuesday,
right.
But
at that defensive tackle spot where you had Christian Barmore, we talked about Farms in the preseason opener, seemed pretty active.
Yep.
Godchow. Who else? Anyone else in there that's catching your eye at that defensive tackle spot inside?
Well, you can throw Dan in there as well. He's one of these guys who, he's a penetrator. We know exactly what he is, and he's a good player for us. And we also have guys on the perimeter, on the outside, I would say, that can slide inside on third down. So those are all things that we've thought through.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
Only been on a team like Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Who changes teams
No,
every
but
year.
I'm just talking
he
about
might not have
at his age.
that knowledge of a system.
Right,
That's true.
Forget it.
I was giving Eric the props. That's right. I don't understand what his age has to do with anything.
I think his age has to do with a lot if you're talking trade. I think another team is taking into consideration the guy's age.
Right.
Don't
but
you?
Why?
Because he's old.
Because he doesn't know my system? That's what you said.
No,
this is the only thing that I disagree
I
with
said,
is that he's more valuable to the Patriots because he knows the system.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with age.
But at his age, he has less to contribute to another team than the Patriots.
I agree.
Than
And
the
that's why I
Patriots.
don't think
Why
Hightower
is that?
has... Because he's old.
About 2 minutes later.
Who's he more valuable to,
The
another
Patri-
team or the Patriots?
The Patriots.
Why?
Because he is on the
Oh,
Patriots.
forget it. You can't even answer. You know, forget it. It's over. It's
Okay,
over.
so...
Ding, ding, ding. It's over. Let's move on.
about 5 minutes later.
This is ridiculous. See, this is what happens. You can't have an argument because you can't.
Thanks, Paul.
You're not allowed to disagree with Fred.
Thank you.
You're not allowed. Don't disagree with Fred.
Thanks for giving me credit for that.
Don't disagree,
I appreciate
Fred. I'm
that.
sorry.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
sorry.
I appreciate
Did I
that.
hurt your feelings by disagreeing with you? I'm sorry.
I don't think I
I'm
sound like the
sorry.
one who's upset here.
Oh no! Oh no! You very much sound like the one who's upset. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Well, we just have to end it at some point.
I know.
I mean, it's like I have to put down a vampire.
Exactly.
You know? It's like it just keeps coming back.
Exactly.
You gotta get that stake in his heart.
You've decided that it's silly.
That's another great moment from
Has anyone had a floater in their eye?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've never had one until now.
Oh.
It's freaking annoying.
Yeah, you just like little.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Mine looks like
Contact
Andy
guy.
right now. It's like looking at me.
They can't
Yeah.
get it out. They can't flush it or something.
No, you can't. No, it's not
In the
on your
inside?
eye. It's in your eye. A
Oh,
floater.
maybe I haven't had one
You
then.
can't flush them out. No, this isn't. I
Can't
thought it
flush a
was.
floater,
No,
Paul.
this happened on Monday. I thought it was something on my eye. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get it out. So I went to the optometrist, and he said, "No, this is. It either goes away on its own, or you just learn to live with it."
When I had floaters as a kid, my mom always told me to flush them. That was.
No, that's not a floater. Though. That's something. That's like an eyelash or
I left
something.
one behind.
You didn't.
What?
That was comic genius.
What did he
right
say?
there. So when I was little and I had a floater, my mom always told me to flush them.
Oh,
Michael,
you're talking about something else. That you're talking
That was good
about
stuff right
potty talk.
You didn't blink. I was.
No, because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to flush my eye out, and it wasn't leaving.
I know,
But it's annoying.
Floaters get flushed. That's
Yeah. Have you ever had a floater?
I don't think so. I hope not.
No.
Bug in my eye, like junk in your eye.
Yeah. No, this is in your eye. It's
Yeah.
not on your eye.
So they just go away eventually. Is that what they told you?
Sometimes they don't.
No?
They just.
You got a
he
floater
said
for
you just
life.
get used to them, and you don't notice them anymore.
Ugh.
I don't see how you wouldn't notice. It's in your
It's gonna
freaking
be tough,
line of
like
vision.
with your binocs, watching from the press box,
Yeah.
getting the curse words blog out. You're gonna have a
Ugh.
floater and
Anyway.
something random floated through the
introduce our
field.
Yeah. So, to my left is No Socks. We talk about him a lot. He does wear socks when he wears sneakers, though.
Correct.
That's the.
That's
Hygiene 101.
That's the
rule.
irony of
Yeah.
of the whole thing.
Sure.
When he wears shoes, no socks. But Matt Smith is here, and the reason why he's here is we're going to introduce him as the new host of the pre and post game show. So welcome aboard, Matt.
Thank you, Fred.
Although, Matt, how long have you been with the team?
100 years.
A little over 20 years.
A little over 20 years. All access, the preseason games, and a lot of the long form videos that we do. For example, the Brady sit down with his family that we did for the. That's all Matt Smith.
Yeah.
He does all that stuff
It's a
behind
big-
the
it's
scenes.
a big team.
Yeah.
I'm
Pats
just
from the
a small
past,
part
these
of it.
two
But
guys.
just because he's behind the scenes doesn't mean he doesn't have opinions, and he's going to bring them hard.
I'm the
for the
point guard.
preseason
I'm
and
the
post.
point guard to start for
for-
these two.
And do not worry, everybody. We will still have a period of Jaws talk every week.
Yeah.
We're getting Matt up to
he's
speed.
been brushing up. He watched
But
the series.
just because you're the host and the point guard doesn't mean I don't want you to have your own opinions.
No problem.
It's a challenging thing, Fred, and I know you've hosted this for a while, but when I filled in for Matt for a couple of the pregame shows too, carve out some space for yourself to express what you're. You know what I mean? It's easy.
Some
it
me
can
time.
Be,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's. I feel like it's an art form that's kind of hard to
and
do.
I will also say, as we came back from break there, and that was a great moment in PU history there, I'm not always as irrationally angry when I'm talking about things as I was in that we need to get rid of that clip. That might be my all-time worst. I was really
That one
really
makes me
bad in
laugh
that
too hard.
argument.
I like that one.
I was. Fred and I were in circles. I was upset.
None of us look good when we get into those things.
I think we have good arguments
Yeah,
sometimes, and then we
sometimes.
just kind of move on. That
Yeah.
one was I was really bad in that one. I was pointless.
Yeah.
Was I even on the show at that
Paul,
point, or was
make a
I just
point.
sitting there like, with mom and dad are fighting?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
That was a really bad one.
With Megan or whoever it was, Alex, or when Paul and I got going and you guys first started, it was like, oh my God, yeah, the parents are fighting. Yeah. But you don't understand. That's what we
No,
do.
that's what you do. No, I got
Yeah.
it. Now I just enjoy it.
But
And I mean, I try to
usually
find
they
a
have a
way.
point. I was really bad in that clip.
You mean like, do rivers have tides?
Well, that was Andy.
I know.
Andy was talking about rivers
Well,
have tides.
do you
He
know-
said people still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Something they like yell at him. Like,
Yeah.
you still like tides? You
Yeah.
know, that-
Like he'll post something random on Twitter about his son or something,
Yeah.
and he'll be like, does he believe in tides?
So Matt, you're following Big Shoes, Hardy.
A lot of shoes.
A lot
Very
of
talented young
people. We've
man.
had a lot of hosts for the post game show, but I don't think anyone was.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that is? Is that something about you guys?
Because Fred's the kingmaker.
No. So you want to make him the kingmaker? Maybe do they want to leave on their own? Is there?
Well, yeah,
possibility
they get
No, I know.
better opportunity.
Correct.
But Hardy was here for a number of years. And
Terrific.
I don't think of all
Big
the
shoes.
hosts, I think he was the most universally loved. Right? Everyone loved Hardy.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think
Big
I've
shoes.
never heard anybody say anything really bad
Yeah.
about him.
That's a rare trait.
So Matt, what are you going to bring to the show? What's your plan?
Well, I think the first thing is to try to fit in because there's a successful operation that's going on. So it's not about one person and derailing what obviously has worked for very many years, what you guys have built up. So you're not going to come in guns a-blazing right out of the way, but I would hope that as things go on, there's a level of analysis that differs from what they do. Paul hates everything.
Right.
Mike is certainly
Sneaky hates everything.
more
Yeah.
measured.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm
Sneaky negative.
closer to Mike from a measured standpoint, maybe with a little bit more venom. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That sounds. I mean, so to paint the picture, Matt and Paul sit next to each other, and I sit across. So there's a little area in between, and I always call it the speed trap because these two are figuring out the problems of the world in that little area, and it's easy to just get stuck in talking with them about the troubles of the world. So you guys have a good, and like you mentioned, Pats from the past. That's you guys have chemistry as
you
well. and
host
you've been
that
doing it
together.
for a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
people should know you from that as well. But yeah, it's no, it's I mean, there's already a little bit of a dynamic. I think that people probably aren't aware.
Give us 2 truths and a lie.
Ooh, he's got some good
So
ones.
you're going to have to, I apologize, Fred. Is that me?
It's 2 truths and a lie. Yeah, you.
Life.
About you.
Oh.
No, about you.
Ask Mike about it again, just to give you. I'm unprepared for that question. You got to give me a second. 2 truths and a lie.
I can think of some good truths for you, Matt. I don't want to stumble on you, but there's a couple.
Could be simple stuff.
How about the lie would be?
No, you don't tell us what it is.
Oh,
we
All
need
right,
to
forget it.
Oh,
Forget
sorry.
It's like I attended Boston University. I played baseball in college,
Oh,
and I was drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah, I need to get up to speed on that.
Right.
My
That's
bad.
2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. Give me 2 seconds.
I would say too, while you're thinking, Matt, another interesting thing about Matt is that being where you've been, I feel like you have had a lot of really interesting access over the years of things that you've seen or
Nobody's
overheard.
luckier. Nobody's luckier.
I
Mike.
mean, you're like, I mean, you have ownership, head coaches. I mean, people are just cycling through the studio at all hours of every day, and they're always coming to see you. And
Right.
you see and hear a lot of things. So
No
I think
question.
when people hear you speak, they should understand that.
Tom Brady night.
I
it's
appreciate
informed.
that.
Hey, babe. How
Right.
you doing?
Are you got a babe?
How you doing, babe?
Didn't get the kiss though. That's
No,
got a hug.
Fred,
Fred.
only Fred can get the kiss.
Did you get a kiss?
No, I kissed him.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
Not that
no
night,
tongue,
but
but
previously.
Okay, here we go. I was born in Wyoming. I grew up in New Hampshire, and my first job out of school was selling insurance.
The insurance lie.
Born in Wyoming, lie.
Born in Wyoming, lie.
Okay. But one other thing that people should know about you is you're an Orioles fan.
Well, I like the logo, Fred. I don't live and die with the team. Although here's why I would be an Orioles fan if somebody's going to push me into it. The first baseball game I ever attended with my father was in 1971 at Fenway Park. And my father ran a hotel in Florida in spring training. And he sometimes befriended, it was the Yankees in the day, and he befriended a guy by the name of Billy Hunter, who was the third base coach. So this is not with all kinds of security and everything centuries ago. And he goes up to a security guard and he goes, "Hey, could you tell Billy Hunter that Bud Smith's here to say hi?" And so the security guard, "Oh, yeah, I've heard that all the time," brings a note in. Billy Hunter comes out. "Come on in. My dad and little Matt Smith. Matt, I want you to meet Jim Palmer. Say hi to Jim Palmer. Hey, Matt, say hi to Frank Robinson. Hey, Matt, this is Brooks Robinson. What team do you think I'd root for?"
Right. No. Listen, that is a perfect example of You get them young,
right?
And you have that in-person memory,
right?
And they're hooked.
Yes.
Yep.
No question.
Yeah.
Me here. I remember that same thing.
Yeah.
What's
First
so?
game. Yeah, just to burn in my brain. The first time I walked up to the entrance of the old stadium and the way that it sat on the top of the hill, close to the highway, I just, I'd been to Fenway, I'd been to the Boston Garden, but there's just something about that where it's like a castle on the hill. So much going on.
I guarantee you, at that joint practice, somebody became an Eagles fan because they got up close and personal with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Hopefully a Patriots fan.
And I would hope the same thing when they got a chance to meet Drake May.
Yeah.
And jump in, get in early.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's that's why these memorabilia conventions and, you buy cards or you buy autographs, that's not memorabilia.
No.
Yeah.
There's no memory attached to it.
Right. No, I know. I don't still have it, but if I did, it was just a white Patriots, one of those little inflatable footballs that I got at the game, but it was, that was always the trigger. And I mean, I still I always just remind myself of thinking back to that person. Someday you're going to be a part of all this. That's how cool is that? That's
I had a
cool.
similar. My dad had a hardware store in New York, in Brooklyn, and when I was a little kid, I'd go in and work there and make keys for people. And one day I'm in the back, and my father calls me up front, and he introduces me to Gil Hodges. And Gil signs a thing, and framed it, and it's like, I'm a Mets fan,
It's like on Happy Days when Howard Cunningham had the hardware store and Hank Aaron came
There
in.
you go. Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
It's the same
They must
thing.
have gotten it from you.
He probably did. Probably did. So
everybody's like, you think there was really an episode of Happy Days where Hank Aaron came in the Cunningham? Yes. I didn't just make that up.
So welcome to the
Thank you.
pre and post game.
Right.
You'll be debuting Sunday night.
Yep.
So you're gonna right into the fire.
Right into the fire on Sunday
night. Late game.
Late one.
Preseason week 3. I'm going to tiptoe into this one. I might have a special guest for you on that first pregame show.
You're bringing your own guests now.
We're efforting that.
We're efforting that. It's trending in the right direction. I know Paul's not a big fan of guests, and I understand that. But I think
takes
this
away
one,
from his time.
This one might be a little bit. This one might be a little bit different, Fred. This one might be a little different.
So I would say I am not a fan of the player interview.
Yeah, I know. And
I do we have a guest every week.
90% of the time, you're right. It's
well, the web reporters are terrific.
We do have a guest every week. And, we used to call it behind enemy lines. I know that's kind of. Do we still call it that? I still think it's okay because we're not being literal. We're not talking about actual war.
Correct.
And I think
We
we're
still
all
play the
adults.
open.
Yeah, we're all adults. We can understand the difference between what's real and what's fun in games and sports. I think that's one of our best segments of the pregame
couldn't
show.
agree
So
with you
we
more.
bring in the
always
out-of-town-
insightful.
The out-of-town writer. I think I always learn a lot, so I assume that listeners are going to learn something too.
Right.
Who was
I
our
think that's a
Eagles guy
great.
last week? He was
Dave
great.
Spadaro.
Dave Spadaro, great.
Spudsy came in.
Yeah,
and it's
fun.
always even
He's
better.
he's an Eagles guy for a long time.
Yeah,
He's been there for a long.
me of,
Yes,
of
terrific.
Philadelphia.
Right.
He's been around for a long time.
Right. A little bit better looking.
Well, that goes without saying. But when it's a home game, and they come down to be in the studio, it's even better.
Yes, agreed.
Even better.
Agreed. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you a question here. Jerod says that we need to play.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? How do you read that for Sunday night?
I read it as Jacoby Brissett's going to go, a couple series, and Maye's going to go. Like I say, couple series, few series, Zappy Milton time, And I hope that Joe Milton makes it interesting for us. That's what I'm hoping for in the second half. That I think he got a lot of buzz after that first appearance, and then last appearance not so much, and it's been really quiet for him ever since that hype train kind of left. I'd like to see him progress a little bit. I'd like to see him get out there, and we got to find something that we got to focus on in the second half.
Has Evan checked in and taken attendance? What's the deal with the left tackle?
Oh, there's no tweeting from practice, so I guess we could effort.
Just give him
a
a
direct
text. Tell him to call into the show. Give him the number.
His boy Barth tweets up a storm during practice. Is he?
Does he violate the rules?
During practice?
100%.
You are not supposed to do it during practice now.
Does it all the time.
Well, in the past, once the fans left.
Yeah, that's when you.
Okay.
Do it. Well,
So
while
it
the
changed. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
So
could do it during regular training
if
camp
the
practices?
fans are here, you could do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's no way to prohibit Johnny Fan from doing it.
Right.
Or Jane Fan from
Right.
doing it. Okay.
Right. So, all right, 855-PATS-500 is
So
the
back to I don't know.
I
This
was
is going to
gonna give the number out,
No,
but that's all right.
I know. But I wanted to touch base on Matt's sort of question about what we're expecting to see. And I know this is going to be our show Sunday night.
Sure, for sure.
But do you think if Brissett goes out there and starts, and they put together a reason. Maybe they stack a couple of first downs. He's out, right? After that, like
Brissett, yeah.
I think he gets another series. How about that? I think he plays two.
Do you have because I always don't be
Careful.
offended by this.
Careful.
This is always the question I ask Fred.
No,
because sometimes the people that are at a larger state,
No, they know stuff
than us.
Yeah, we don't know stuff.
You guys know stuff.
No.
Both of you.
This
you
is-
have the ability to talk to me. I always ask Fred, is this from some
This is not.
some inside knowledge? Okay, so
This
I'd
is
be
not.
surprised. I think that they might both be done by the end of the first quarter.
But you can still get 2 series in each if you do that.
No, you
possible.
Well,
First quarter?
that would really worry me. Then that means
Yeah.
you went 3-0
Right.
4 times.
Maybe.
And our defense would have had to be real good,
Probably,
too.
yeah. So I think that they probably want to see a glimmer of production from
No
Brissett.
question.
That's why I say if they get like 2 first downs, maybe 3, 10 plays, out.
Yeah.
And then Maye, you want to get him, you got to get him some work just because he needs the work. And then, you got to get all the guys out of there.
Yeah.
It's still a preseason game. You don't want to risk it.
Evan said he can call in, but he wanted to remind us that we are technically not supposed to tweet until after practice.
We didn't ask him to
Not
tweet.
that this is
Okay,
tweet, but
yeah. So
all
let's
right.
You know,
Let's
stay
leave that
stay within
alone.
the rules.
Yeah.
There's no need, especially, let's
All
just
right.
let's leave that one alone.
Right.
All right. Vincent in North Carolina writes in, longtime listener, love the show. Do you have a concern about the scheduling you mentioned earlier? While you, Paul, and Mike are essential to the show, the energy Evan brings is crucial. Regardless of the take, a call in from the sideline probably wouldn't have the same effect. Could another high-energy football first mind be on the horizon for the show? And by the way, Mike Dussault with a 5-year jump and probably the best offseason of any Patriot this year. Congratulations, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
What did that mean?
The 5-year jump.
Oh, 5-year jump.
Oh,
Finally.
nice.
I finally arrived.
That was another Andy Hardism.
The 5-year jump. I do think, though, that's a funny thing. Like, when the cockeyed optimist in me gets like, what about this guy? And then like, Paul loves to remind me, like, these guys don't break out in their 6-year dues. I'm like, you're probably right.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Kendall's in North Carolina. Hey, Kendall.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
Kendall.
Hi.
I got a question about the Unfiltered show. Like, for the lineup this year, who's going to be the cast? Because I'm new this year. Who's going to be the cast for the peak, pre-game, and the post-game?
Well, you're looking at 3 of them right here. So you have Matt Smith, Mike Dussault, and Paul Perillo. And
Sprinkling the Tamara,
yes.
various roles. We're figuring that out too.
Yep.
And for post-game is who?
Same crew.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be stopping in on the home
Fred
games.
will be here for home games.
Yeah, for home games, I'll stop in.
Oh, okay. And one more question. Is there anything that if Brissett plays like he played last weekend against Philly, and Maye plays like he played, but they could catch a couple balls Sunday and Washington, who do you think Maye would start against Cincinnati?
I don't see it. I think it's Jacoby Brissett. Barring Jacoby
Injury.
Brissett getting hurt. I just think all this like speculation. It is what it is. Nothing's really changed. The reps have basically remained the same. That's what they've been telling us the whole time. That this is why they brought Jacoby Brissett in.
But I think the bigger question that I have, and thanks for the call, Kendall, appreciate it, is why have the reps remained the same? Like, why don't we see at least an even split of reps with with David? I say David Andrews because when he's in there, that's the starters.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, if it was Bill here, I'd almost feel like he was doing it as a preventative measure, not to allow talking points to emerge from that kind of thing, which seems silly to me. But I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that this has been a legitimate competition on the field that was back and forth, and but I don't know. I think back to Mac Jones and Cam Newton. How did that reveal itself? How were those reps? And because that wasn't even then you. It was weird. It was Cam first and then a bunch of Mac. Strange.
The word competition is really not accurate. We are waiting for Drake Maye to be ready.
Correct.
It's not a competition.
And
So
that's
in order
why
to
I
do
think
that,
he hasn't gotten
right
what you're looking for.
And in order to do that, don't forget they still have to get Brissett ready to play. Like, he needs that time.
It's a great point.
We're not talking about a finished product here. You know, he needs as much time to get them ready to be as good as he can be.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a little bit different, and I've said this a million times, I know, than the Green Bay examples that we're always hit over the head with. You know, it's easy to give Jordan Love all of the reps in preseason.
Because he's never going to play.
Because Aaron Rodgers already knows everything he needs to know. Jacoby Brissett is new to the team. Yes, he has some comfort in this system, but it's been a couple of years, and he needs all the work he can get. It's a tough needle to thread.
All this talk about, well, you know, this team did it this way, every situation is different and every quarterback is different. There's no right or wrong way. They're all different because of the person and the situation.
Well, the frustrating thing to me, too, is that they thought, well, the Packer way. I mean, we've talked about this being a pain in the butt, you know, that, well, yeah, the Packer way is easy when you have Brett Favre and then you have Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, I would say the real Packer way, having read the Packer way book, was he knew he wanted Brett Favre. He knew he wanted Brett Favre. And that was it. That was the Packer way. Was I know what quarterback I want. I'm going to go.
We
get
tried
him.
to do the Packer way when we drafted Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Packer way, but Brady outlived it.
Yeah,
he didn't go along with that.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's true.
Dave in Bethlehem writes out, how have offensive coaches done so far? Peters and Kugler, or is it Kugler? I'm sorry.
Kugler?
Sound like they're doing fine. What about McAdoo, Underwood, AVP? I mean, it's hard.
I mean, everybody talked to them out today. They did offensive coaches. We've only really talked to them, I think, once this season.
Is he asking specifically about press? How do they
Hard
do?
to tell. No, I mean, I
Press
think
conference, how are they doing?
as
coaches, how they're doing as coaches.
You know, why would we say that the offensive line coaches are doing? Like, what's to tell anybody whether they're doing well or not well?
This guy.
He doesn't know about the strike system.
This guy.
You don't know about the strike system?
Pulling the pin
Yeah.
and throwing the grenade.
Well,
no, you're absolutely right. Like, the offense
I'm
has
not saying
looked
they're not
good, like, really at all.
But I don't want to sit there and say they're not doing well. But I would have trouble with, you know, just taking this person at his word that they're doing fine. I think
he doesn't know.
I mean, I'm a big believer in the fact that, look, everybody's interested in the quarterback. I get it. Until they get the offensive line situated, I'm not sure it really is going to matter who's a quarterback, quite honestly, because that's so unsettled.
Like the strike system.
But there's no way of knowing how those coaches. I mean, I would say, like, in 2007, like, I don't know, was Chad O'Shea the receivers coach? Nick Casario might have been. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, how did he do that year? I don't know. Or is it Randy Moss caught 23 touchdowns and Wes Welker caught 120 passes?
Right. Yeah, here's a Pats from the past take, by the way, where I think a guy like Peters is going to be in a tough spot. All Patriot fans remember from an offensive line standpoint is Dante Scarnecchia. And every offensive line coach is always going to be great at it. Well, you know, why don't they just call Dante? Well, Dante's right down the street. Why don't they bring him in and consult and everything like that? It's not fair to whoever the new people are coming in, because Dante is so revered and everybody in the public knows who he is and knows what his track record was.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, you have to really dig down to, but I mean, I think Drake Maye has shown progression. I think that's a positive reflection on the job that they've done. I would say that Jalen Polk has been a productive receiver, and he's come into camp and looks like he gets it. So, I mean, I think those things reflect positively. I think the tight end group has been pretty good.
Negatively to them?
Well, I mean, I would say that might be an issue. That might be an issue. I mean, this is something we talked about.
The Baker. I think,
like, if you had to say right now,
yeah,
one of the week one inactives probably is going to be Javon Baker.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
No,
Mike, Paul's shows like to say, how much has Drake Maye progressed, though? Is the progression enough as we're getting here to August 22nd? Is that enough of a progression for him?
Well, that's the thing. We were talking before. We know what we see. We don't see what goes on in the classroom,
right,
and all that stuff. And maybe that's where Brissett is still clearly ahead of him.
I would say this, Matt. I would say I've seen him progress in 7-on-7. I've seen him where early on it was a struggle, and I think generally now when he has a 7-on-7 period, there's gonna be more good plays than bad plays. It's consistency for me. That's the biggest element for him. And does he carry it over into 11-on-11? Not as much. Not as much. That's the next step. That's where I would say no, it hasn't gone far enough. But I will give him credit in the 7-on-7 period.
Did he turn the corner in that first 7-on-7 in the joint practices against Philly? In your opinion?
I don't think
you think he did so on the 7-on-7? You said is where you noticed his progression. he was pretty good in the 7-on-7 in that first joint practice.
Yeah, I mean,
early.
All I saw him do was throw
after.
checkdowns to the backs, and he was really upset with himself after that. When he talked to us, you were in that meeting on Wednesday. He talked about some of that stuff, like he was too quick to pull the trigger on the shallow stuff and didn't wait for it to develop.
But I remember after that practice, the early reports, I walked by a TV and McAfee was on. He's like, reports out of the joint practice in Foxborough is that, Drake May's 9 for 9.
Because
he
completed
the future is now.
He completed a bunch of passes in a row.
Watch the same thing?
And no one indicated that, forward to Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay.
And that was, I think the game...
That's
the
where
game
it turned
just
a
clicked.
little. Yeah.
And I don't know if that was something mentally. To your point, Fred, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But he's looked like a different guy from that game. The practices since last Thursday. It's 1 week from today.
Yep.
I think it was the Monday
He's looked like
practice.
a different guy.
Game Thursday.
Oh,
we had a Saturday
yeah.
non-padded, and then Sunday. I think it's actually Sunday. I think it was that practice where I think it was only 3 reps in the red zone of red zone 7s, but he hit 3 touchdowns.
I think it was Jaheim Bell caught a couple that day.
And so that was where I was like, okay, but again, it's red zone 7-on-7. It's that's where I've seen the progress. It's got to carry over, and the name of the game to me with him is consistency. Can he take his good plays? And if you look back at a lot of the scouting reports, this was something that going back to there, inconsistent, has big plays, then it's a couple bad plays. So I think the result is,
regarding May, says David in Bethlehem, remember swimming in a cold lake in New Hampshire or Maine? Would you rather tiptoe in or just dive in?
You must have some experience in cold lakes in New Hampshire.
I'm a tiptoe guy.
Tiptoe.
You tiptoe into cold water?
I do. I gotta get used to it.
Get some on the wrists. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
You just stay above that nether region level.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, you're a dive in.
You got to
Freddie?
dive in.
You're a sadist.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
It's like a cold
ice
plunge.
plunges. Yeah. You rip off that Band-Aid.
Again, I think every situation individually it's unique for every single one.
Let's see. This is kind of an off Patriots question, but still NFL. Nakodi, I think. With the NFL adding more games to the regular season, well, they haven't yet, but they will. Do you think there's a likelihood of more teams being added with more games?
I.e. expansion?
Yes.
No.
32 teams, 18 games, 2 preseason games, and let's just stop. Let's agree right there.
Yeah. I don't think you'll see more teams, but they're definitely going to be going to 18 games at some point.
Just talent pool, too. It's at a certain
How
point.
fast? Do you guys? How fast do you think that will be?
I think there's a chance it could be next. I think it could. There's a chance it could be next year.
Could be next year.
I think there's a chance it could be next year.
I think within 2 years,
but no later than 2 years.
Continuing to take our bread and butter away, Matt.
That's awful.
Be down to 2 permanently.
Yeah, but there'll be 2 special games.
This isn't this special.
Yeah.
Is there a threat of anybody? And I'm thinking about it.
Like great.
Nashville's got a new stadium going up. Buffalo's got a new stadium going up.
Yep.
Looks like Jacksonville has made peace with the town. Is there any town or team holding a town hostage? Am I missing somebody that where there's a chance to move? Kansas City?
They're having problems.
That's never going to.
I mean, probably not going to happen.
They're going to rattle some cages,
right?
but that'll get done.
Yeah.
Is that it? There's no real moving
Tennessee's got
threat.
a new place coming, huh?
Yeah. Where there's actually less seats than in the current place, is what I was told.
So I think that's a trend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How much smaller? Do you know,
demand.
Maybe 10,000?
10,000?
That's
Well, it's interesting because
big
how
drop.
many seats have they cut out of this place since it opened in 2000?
This is his first show. What are we doing?
5-year jump off.
Now you made me lose my train of thought.
Have to go talk to Robert now.
Fred just got an electric shock from the West Wing, and now
it was along the lines of the so NCAA football. They're going to be adding 12 teams to the playoffs. I think that's going to be. Well, they're going to have
16,
12 teams.
12 team
They're going to have 12
it's
teams.
eventually going to be.
playoff.
Yeah, it's eventually going to be 16.
So obviously that's exciting. I think people are jazzed about that. What's the NFL thinking about that? Oh, you're going to try to,
take some of our money, TV money, right?
So then I'm thinking, okay, we have more Saturday games now. We have Christmas games now. We have is the NFL thinking not so fast NCAA? We're gonna we're going to come at you now on Saturdays.
Well, maybe 18 games would allow you to push things out a little bit. So,
Which
you know,
they
really
will.
the playoff crunch is the second and third week of January, you know, and that's when you know, those games are, and you just kind of have to share.
But I just wonder how the NFL feels about this NCAA playoff thing.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand,
Singularly focused for world domination.
Yeah, I know. That's the bottom line, right? But, you know, in some ways, I guess you could pitch that it's good that it's, you know, you're getting to know young players that are going to be coming into the league, and it's a showcase.
Well, historically, the league has always given Saturday to college. You know, only until the end of the season when colleges are done that they start playing on Saturday. But I wonder if they might go back on that now. Like,
But it's not like their expanded playoff is intruding on the NFL.
Well, I mean,
they might see it as such, though.
Yeah.
No, but
and I
like,
wonder if some of these newer owners who are coming in, where the price tag is so much, and they get in, and a Brian Rolop says, "Well, we don't play on Saturdays," or Goodell says, "We don't play on Saturdays," and that owner goes, "Why don't we play on Saturdays?" Well, it's because we've never played on Saturdays. That's not a good enough excuse.
The league is making so much money now on these
standalones,
these standalone games.
Yeah.
No,
And the more of those you have, the more money you make.
I'm not dismissing it. And I know they always claim that they're breaking records. I don't buy it most of the time. But my point is, like, in the playoff system they have now, the NCAA goes out of their way to not conflict with the NFL.
They don't want to,
because they know that
they don't want to poke the bear.
They also know that they'll lose.
They'll get buried.
Yeah.
Like the Clemson Georgia game is not going to outdo an NFL game.
Correct.
Right.
If it's, you know, running opposite
head to head.
So, you know, they go on New Year's Eve when there's no NFL games. They go out of their way. It's the championship is that Monday after the regular season when there's no Monday night game. That's not an accident.
Yeah.
And my guess is they'll do the same thing with the early rounds of the playoffs. They'll find, you know, creative ways to avoid
have they announced
competition.
how you're going to watch these games? Like, are they going to be on streaming services?
I don't know.
I think those are regular over-the-air games right now. But as you know, and maybe it's just for the national championship game, ESPN they do 12 different broadcasts of that national championship game.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will in Lancaster writes in, maybe old news by now, but I'm glad people are calling Elliot Wolf out for his press conference. I've been bullish on him and his approach, but his answers reminded me of Bill's toward the end, where examples of needs being filled insulted our intelligence. Do better, Elliot. So what did he say that was so insulting?
I think he clapped back at Greg Bedard. Which of those hasn't happened?
Right. Extra points for me for
I just put it under the same banner as I put Mayo. These are two young guys in new jobs. I mean, I think Elliot, when he got to the podium, was like, "Thanks for having me." Like, they're not comfortable doing this yet, and it's a learning experience. And I'm sure
good point.
Stacy's, you know, up to his eyeballs trying to manage and make sure that they understand that you have to choose your words very carefully. And probably both of them would do well to be like,
"Less is
we'll
more."
see.
Right.
That's what Bill used to do. We'll see. You know, and you leave it to that. You
You know
keep
where
yourself
Bill
out of trouble.
really excelled is in those spots where he clearly didn't want to answer a question. He had an unbelievable ability to wait you out.
Yeah.
He would do what Mike
Awkward
just said,
silence.
like, "We'll see."
Stare at you.
Right.
And everybody would just be like waiting for the rest. And I'm perfectly content going 15 seconds without
Right.
saying anything.
Yeah.
If you don't have another question.
I think we already covered that.
He's like, you know, a lot of lawyers, when they have like their client on the stand, they coach them, only answer what you're asked and don't elaborate.
Yep.
You know, and Bill is almost like, you know, somebody on the stand answering questions under oath. Like,
he was masterful of just taking the last 4 or 5. Like, if your question was one of those long 30-second jobs and the last 5 seconds asked him about whether he likes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, he was going to answer about the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and forget about everything else.
Unless it was Super Bowl, then all of a sudden,
different
Bill would open up and say,
1985
"Hey,
Super Bowl.
Bill's like a new guy here."
Friday football history
Yeah.
questions.
Right.
That's somebody put a whole book together that's Fridays with Bill, which it was just compiling the football
The
nerd.
press conferences?
Yeah, oh, it's great. I mean, it's nothing. No, just the press conferences of the really in-depth football stuff when he get on a tangent.
As someone was at those press conferences,
I know.
they weren't
Well,
all.
that's
I was
what
gonna
you
say,
sift through them. You
it's
find
good
the golden
bedtime reading
nuggets.
because it puts you right to sleep.
Do you remember that time we got the transcript and there was like an answer on like
special
gunners,
teams.
like this,
Or the
and
long
people
snapper.
are like, "Oh my god!"
No,
Who's dropping the knowledge?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
yeah, oh, really? You think a guy who's been a coach in the NFL for 50 years knows a little something about football?
Yeah.
Right.
He's won six titles. Yeah.
And do you think he'd rather give you 4,000 words on the gunner, or 4,000 words on the fact that his offense can't get out of its own way?
Or who's winning the quarterback battle currently?
Right.
You welcome those questions
Exactly.
and then it's a filibuster.
Right.
Filibuster.
Let's see. This is Nate. Where's Nate? He's in Connecticut. I think the O-line will get a lot better a few weeks into the season. I think Wallace and Robinson will move into the starting lineup and drastically improve the O-line. I also disagree with Evan on the final wide receiver roster spots. Evan keeps saying he doesn't think Booty will make the team because there are multiple receivers on the team that can do what he does, whereas Thornton is one of the only receivers who can stretch the field. The problem I have with that viewpoint is I would rather have the player who is more productive, even if it offers some skill redundancy on the field.
Well, I think that would
Good
be,
email.
That would be Thornton based on training camp.
I was going to ask you guys, is he? Have you done your projected 53 yet, Paul?
No, but Fred,
You've been getting
Fred,
asked that a lot,
Fred
Paul.
told me I need to do one, so maybe I'll work
I
on
say
that
you
tonight.
at least need to differentiate what Evan's done.
Sure.
And
can't
show
speak
that.
for all of us.
I
Thornton,
just think
yes
it's
or no?
too much of the same. Thornton, I would have on, yes.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah.
Paul?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Fred?
No, Booty's my guy out. He'd be my out guy.
Yeah. Fred?
Yeah, I would give Thornton
I
a
think
chance.
there's a chance that both of them make it. I think that there's a chance that Bourne ends
Because
up
of Bourne.
on PUP and they keep 7. Now, 7 to me is an insanely high number, but
Exactly.
they don't.
And neither of those two guys are going to play special teams.
Are you going to cut Bourne and Thornton so you can keep Christian Ellis? Or,
No, too many questions at the position, and I mean,
Marcellus Dial?
I think what I said to Giardi, it's like if you have 7, you have none. I think
Something
you need
to that.
You need to have some, guys to kind of work through. And like I said at the top of the show, I think like Rager and Thornton will kind of work on the outside. But yeah, I mean, other than 1 and 3, there's not a lot that really moves my needle. And I mean, I know we can talk about 1. That's probably a debate for another day. But outside of those 2 guys, there's nobody that I'm like, this is impossible. We couldn't even go into the season without Tyquan Thornton.
Right.
Like 1 and 3 after that, I don't know. It's a whole lot of.
Yep.
We'll see.
Jeff in Canada, what's more likely? The record is 9-8 or 3-14.
3-14.
More likely than 9-8.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a 5. That's a 5 to 6 question.
That's probably a better topic for fact.
No,
Did you hear that
well,
yesterday?
fair enough.
These questions, though, that people come up with were like, I'm going to trick you into saying the Patriots stink.
People
Right, I'm sorry. I think the better chances of that
If
is
that's what
3-14.
if that's what the email is asking.
What was
it's
it
true.
last year? 4. What's
Right.
closer
They
to
won
4?
4 last
3.
year.
Right.
Yep. What's more likely, TD passes? Brissett with 10 plus or May with 20 plus?
A.
Probably Brissett. 10? I mean,
I'm going with May 20 plus.
I'm going to say Brissett because I'm not sure
Yeah.
how many games May's going to play.
I couldn't agree with. I'm with Paul.
What's more likely? Defense finishes ranked top 5 or bottom 10?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Wow, everybody's on board.
see,
there.
we like.
Well, bottom 10? I don't
Yeah.
think the defense will stink.
Okay. All right.
Right. But I could see
They
that
couldn't stop
defense
the
being.
run,
I
though.
could see that defense being 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's more likely? Most touchdowns by unit? Wide receivers or tight ends?
Tight ends.
That's a good question.
I would say tight ends
And
right
tight
now
ends.
because I think Austin Hooper is. He's been dinged up, but I think he's. I mean, to me, he kind of looks. And maybe I'm underselling Hunter Henry, but he looks every bit as effective in this offense as Hunter Henry has been. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking the cheese again on that second wide tight end, but
Why did
I
you
think
take it
just
on
his
Gesicki last
experience-
year?
What was that?
Did you take it on Gesicki last year? I did.
No,
I
I'm
did.
taking it more on. I mean, I just knew that Gesicki was always going to be a tall, skinny inside guy, and
Email, funny.
oh, all right. But Hooper's he's been one of the more consistent guys. I mean, he was up and down in the joint practice, but he just seems to know where to be.
Agree with
and
that.
he seems to kind of connect with Brissett in a way that I would almost say I'm not sure Hunter Henry does
And
quite
I feel
yet.
like tight ends are generally red zone targets.
No question.
Yeah, that's Hunter Henry's
So I'm going to go
bread and
tight
butter.
ends.
Cody in Indiana making fun of Eldred.
Oh,
yeah.
I like the listener on listener crime.
He says, quick game for all of you. All you have to do is fill in the following players. Green is someone who should be making more money. Indigo is someone born in February. Chartreuse is someone who plays primarily on the defensive line and wears his socks too high. Orange is someone whose favorite fruit is orange. And black is someone whose name rhymes with the name of a country in Eastern Africa. I'll take it offline.
Cody.
Would
Very
Chad
good.
Ochocinco qualify for that one?
Huh?
Because Chad's a country in Africa, isn't it?
Chad?
Chad does rhyme with Chad, doesn't
That's
it?
true. Yeah, but is it
That's all I
Eastern?
got.
I don't know. Jeff writes in, quick revenue generating idea. How about launching a Patriots filtered, he said. I think he means unfiltered, but podcast subscription. It could be a version that filters out any audio featuring Evan. Remove that unmistakable frequency and
Ouch.
preserve the quality content for his fans on Catch 22. I'd subscribe on day one. Seriously, take my money.
Wow.
Hey, we all have our fans and
That's
our
harsh.
detractors, right? We had one guy wrote in that said we have to have Evan in here.
Right.
And we have another guy who says you have to be on.
Someone wrote that in today?
Yeah.
Oh.
He said he was worried about the new schedule
I'm gonna need you to pay
because we miss
attention.
his viewpoint. Even if you disagree with it, he thinks it's valuable, and I agree.
Well, I think all opinions are
Yeah.
valuable.
No, I agree. So I don't know what we're going to do here.
If you will.
I think.
Oh my God, it's 2:00.
Yeah. Oh, geez, it is too.
Does Matt play you guys off when shouldn't there be
Oh,
like
no.
a little theme about something
So
like
raising
that?
the music?
He's sleeping.
No,
Well,
usually Freddie ends it early because he's got somewhere to be.
Matt's got a visitor right now, so he's preoccupied.
Yeah.
But listen, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered, the pre and post game show Sunday night. What
What do we
time are you
got?
starting?
5:30.
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul didn't tell me that. He said it
5:30,
was 2
6:30,
hours.
and then half hour. before.
5:30 to
We have to end a
7:30.
half hour
Oh,
before
okay.
game
Sorry,
time.
I didn't know
so-
it was a half hour.
Yeah.
before
We
the
have
game.
to go a half an hour
In
ahead of
season.
game time during preseason because we have to switch the stuff, the streams.
encoders and streams. Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Streams.
So
right?
make sure you tune in for
That's
that.
even with a national
Yep.
game. That's the same, right?
Yes.
Yes.
NBC
Okay.
game, but we're going to be.
Normally we're
yeah.
only 15 minutes before the
Yeah.
the
Right.
There it is.
So-
There it is.
All right. We will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.